party of survivors, rattled by the crushing defeat of the Lord's Alliance armies at the hands of the many arrow orcs, found themselves on the run and forced to seek shelter from a harsh winter. Salvation came in the guise of Ellsdale, a small village in the foothills of Mount Hottenot, but instead of safe harbor, they found themselves at the center of an infernal plot to bring chaos to the mortal realms. Ellsdale was overrun by a nefarious gang of demon-worshipping zealots, headed up by Ivan Brethold and his inner circle of would-be lords, all dancing to the siren call of Zugtamoy's wicked tune. The cultists used a fungal agent to poison the flora, fauna, and even the villages in the surrounding area with a slow, spreading rot that destroyed the minds of the weak, turning them into ravenous, undead creatures. The strong had their souls enslaved, their will bound to the demon queen of fungus. Through swift, decisive action, our party made all haste to find and destroy the source of the rot. They followed Ivan to his underground lair and thwarted his attempt to open an infernal gateway to the outer realms. But of the 6 who entered, only 3 emerged from the deeps with enough strength to act on the scene that they now saw before them. A town beset upon by the untethered rot zombies locked in mortal combat with the few surviving uncorrupted villagers of Ellsdale. Low on strength and few in number, the surviving members of the 3rd Daggerford Irregulars now steel themselves for the fight ahead. Welcome to the second story arc in Tabletop Dynasties' ongoing 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign, The 7 Masks of Mayhem. For full details on past events, check out the previous arc, The Platinum Mask. But otherwise, sit back, relax, and join us for the prologue to Arc 2, The Siege of Mirabar. Up the top of the stairs, and you hear sounds of commotion, but not coming from inside the hall, just from around the town. Cries of anguish and breaking things, wood being thocked, just the echoing essentially through the valley. Rosin, you also hear this as you start to approach the crest of the hill leading down. Cries, sound flames, the sight of flames coming up from the town as you look down and you see figures sort of like scattering around. What's your dark vision like?
Really good.
Yeah, okay. You see figures sort of moving around. What time of day is it, guys? It's middle of the night,
right? It was like middle of the night.
That's right, because you'd slept through the day, and it was probably about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening.
Well, it all went sideways, once they had that banquet dinner having arrived at night.
That's right. So, you come up from the basement, and you're just hearing the sounds of a crowd, or people screaming around the town, and it's very disparate. It's just here and there, and it's not centralized like it was when you first came into the town. You sort of come up from the basement and out through the doors. Do you put your friends somewhere?
Yeah, so I'll take them into the. How destroyed is like the main hall?
No, it's fine. I mean, it's.
It is pretty. I'll take them to the barn. I'll take them to
pretty much mint, apart from the bodies lying around the floor.
Yeah, I think I'll take them to the barn.
Okay, so
the Smith's barn.
You guys make your way out around the other side of the building, across the town square. As you cross the town square, you see figures, just like crazed bodies of these twisted undead, just running across towards a few specific houses. And you see the cries coming from like the Thatcher's house, the Cooper's house. In front of the barn, in fact.
Anyone that's not an undead needs to be saved, right?
That's definitely what we need to do, absolutely.
Yeah,
we're on board.
Yes.
But we can't just drop our friends in the dirt to do that. So we stash them in the barn and then do that.
Yes.
You see 3 undead smashing at the Smith's door. One of them just breaks through the window.
Okay, let's.
I do.
I will
carrying
run
it, guys.
valiantly at the undead.
Valiantly.
Yes. That's what I will do.
Alright, cool. Well, they don't seem to notice you. They seem to be very hell-bent on getting these people.
Sorry, what, so you just went at them?
I'm going at them.
Okay, I'll follow you. I'll come out. I'll
Just
drop
drop
my
your friends.
friends.
You leave
And
them
you're
with
gonna
the
be
mercenaries,
calling,
perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah.
You drop the friends?
I'm not carrying any friends.
We have to. I place them. I don't just like drop them. I place them into the arms of. Well, one mercenary's got to be carrying one of them anyway, because I can't carry both. Place them into the arm of one of the other mercenaries.
The brandy barrel man.
Bandy Barrel Man.
Brandy barrel boy.
So there's two. Okay, all right.
And then I follow Spear.
All right,
So
you
how
stay
many-
here. I say to the brandy barrel man. I'm with them. And I shoot a puppy. Come on, let's all go. Don't split the
He's
party.
like, alright, I'll look after them.
Take them to the barn.
Keep them safe.
Just kill the zombies at the barn first.
Well, yeah.
Ooh, says the brandy barrel boy.
What a name.
All right, yeah. Let's go. I whip out my rapier and my shield.
I have my shield and my sword on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you guys run up and start laying into them.
Yeah, I'm tottering
Toddling
short
dead
behind.
behind.
I will. Yeah, I'll try and help however I can. I've got my dagger ready to throw it. But
Okay.
I'm not gonna let it out of my hand.
At this point, you guys are able to make short work of these guys. There's just 3 of them there between the 3 of you. It's just like... The main problem is, it seems like going from place to place, there are other places in this town where this is happening. Quite possibly coinciding with the other families who are
Yeah.
worshippers of Maliki.
Do they seem? Yeah, I was gonna say, do they seem like one-minded? Like do they seem like they have an agenda? These one dead.
They're all attacking
We know they
specific
have
targets.
a hive mind, right? So they do
Yeah.
have specific targets in
And
play.
they're picking on the good guys. We've got to stop this immediately, I think.
So which
So,
house have we gone to first? Sorry?
The Smith's
The
house.
Smith's house.
So Bren's they've just they're smashing through the windows, banging down the doors. You guys have come in behind, and you've just
It's like
made
peeling
short
off a
work
honey
of these
plaster.
guys.
You start at the edge and you peel.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
these guys
keep
seem
moving.
extra weak now. They don't. There's some force that's not binding them there anymore. They're much less cohesive. Their bodies are crumbling apart. They fall apart easily, which is something that you experience as well as you see these people in distress, and that strikes to the very heart of you. So you make haste,
Yep.
and they start heading down the hills through the rough terrain. But you leap with your excellent agility from tree trunk to tree
Trunk, yes.
like just maneuvering through the ground that you're
Yep.
so familiar with now after
Oh, yeah.
all these months of being in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And you very quickly come to an outskirting town. You see what looks like a woodcutter's hut, and these twisted creatures, humans once, remnants of their human clothes tearing off them, their body, jaw distended, arms dislocated in places, various growths, rippling muscles. It reminds you of a much more advanced states of some of the animals that you've already seen, various infectious cancers, these tuberous tumors growing inside of them, poisoning the meat.
Yep.
The reason you gave up eating it so long ago.
Yeah.
But as you seems to be, if this is not the source of the infection, you're definitely getting close.
Yep.
And these zombie undead creatures are just dragging out this screaming man from the woodcutter's shed, and behind him you hear an elderly woman screaming, "No, Franklin!"
And in my distance, a halfling going,
Given what they are, and given that I don't particularly wish to contact their physique, just in case, short swords at the ready, moving in to hit whatever it is to help save.
You
this
stalk
human.
the scene. You sort of like throw them on the ground. They're sort of rising above them to sort of just start tearing them
Devour them.
apart with claws and teeth.
Yep, hit them.
That's what
Hit
you
'em
just like
hard.
rip in and jump in from behind and grab the hair. And as you pull your short sword across the back, the head just comes clean off. You like back away
Yep.
and let it fall to the ground as you see it stumble back, jank around a little bit, reaching out for where it thinks you are, and then falling to the ground. The other one raises up its victim and staggers towards you, 1 foot after the other. But as it does, one of its ankles sort of like cracks and falls away, and it's now knee in the snow, still
Trying
reaching
to
out.
get to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, you hear a, oh, thank you for saving me, kind of off in the distance, in the direction of beyond the Cooper's Place, just near where the vineyard starts. But where are you guys heading next? So the Smith's like, Brand Smith is like, thank goodness you're here. They were almost through our door. He says he's like holding a sledgehammer and just sort of looking around.
It seems like they're targeting. What's the name of the?
Maliki worshippers.
It seems like they're targeting Maliki worshippers. Maybe you can come with us and help us save your brethren.
Okay,
There's no point sheltering here. Come with us. We'll form a posse.
They're weak
move house
now.
to house. Let's go.
They're weak now.
all right.
I think we can do this.
So just give me a second. He sort of like turns around, goes inside, grabs a heavy leather cloak, throws it on, turns around, and is like, Agatha, Dane, Peter, come, let us go. And his wife comes out, and she's got like Dane just sort of strapped over her shoulder with like a little blanket tying her up, and then Peter comes out and he's holding a little short sword in two hands.
I'm going back to back with that guy.
Yeah, he's a full hand taller than you.
It's okay, kid. We got this. I'm patting him up on the
He's
legs.
like, yeah, make a charisma roll.
7 and the charisma of +1 more.
He
It's
just
a
likes...
deception check, I presume, with
Okay.
+1.
Yeah, awesome. Well, however you cut it, he's not particularly confident, but he's a bit more confident to be standing with you. And you guys make your way over to the nearest.
What's the closest house?
He goes, well, they're split. The Coopers are just over here, but then the Thatchers are over there.
Which one? Are either of those close to the vineyard that we heard the noise?
Yeah, the Coopers, they're right next to it. That's where they have their shop, right next to the vineyard.
Okay, let's head that way.
Alright, cool.
I heard some commotion over that way, so I think that's probably the best place to start.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so
Sounds like they already
you're
know
running through the
well.
night. Okay, you'll make perception rolls as you sort of start dashing through the street.
Perception.
And you as well, please.
14.
Okay.
7 plus 3 is 10.
15.
Okay, cool. So as you guys are running along, just a last minute catch out of the corner of your eye, these a group of like 3 of these creatures just like tear off the path from around the corner of one of the buildings and come in to grab you guys. Okay, I'm gonna go. Oh, that's good.
Oh dear.
Cool. So
GM said
one of them
that.
just sort of like flies up and sort of starts rattling off you. Another one just like slams in and just like falls on top of you. Its claws digging into your shoulder.
Is it going to hit my armor class?
On a natural 20, likely.
Well, I'd probably be trying to bust out shield anyway, so...
Well, you wouldn't. You have the option of.
Do I
post-
know that it's a crit, like a nat 20?
Well, you have the option if it's. So shield is something that you call. You choose whether or not to use it after the hit roll is made.
When you are hit by an attack.
Yeah.
Yes, so I would drop the shield. I've got it, that's what it's there for.
And what does that push your armor class to?
Oh, it doesn't really matter. It goes to 20 now,
Okay. Well.
but a natural 20 will still hit me.
Natural 20.
But if he starts raking in, it'll still apply to those attacks.
Okay, cool. They just have one attack each. So I would avoid using it, is what I'm saying. Just in case. Alright, well, regardless, you take 8 points of damage. It's just like 2 claws sink into your shoulders here and here, and the impact of you falling down, of him falling down on top of you, delivers his teeth into your face. He just rakes in, tears your ears, like hanging on, a bit of flesh is strapping off.
No, I just took a hit.
And another one comes up to you,
Monster
Spear,
toll.
and
Okay.
so Spear, another one sort of.
No, I've got a thing on top of me. I'm crying. This is terrible.
Another one slams into you and gets a 21 to hit.
21 points of damage?
No, it hits you on a 21.
I was gonna say.
It only does 7 points of damage. As it sort of comes in, you just take it unawares. It's just like you go to take your shield up, but unfortunately it catches the far side of his body. And it sort of twists around, and you feel teeth just sinking into the back of your head and scraping across your neck. Blood comes ushering down
Ow!
your forearm.
It's dirty fighting, that!
Yeah, rather. You hear the cries of what seem to be regular people over in that direction. This one that's sort of like crumpling towards you, just like its legs aren't working anymore, but it's just dragging itself hand over hand through the snow towards you.
Just backhand it with a sword and then just head over to wherever the noise is coming from.
Okay, you see the people in the woodcutter's hut seem fine.
Yep.
It's quite a distance away from you at this point. Do you want to make haste?
I'll dash.
All right, cool. Do you?
I'll do the thing.
Oh, you'll do the thing.
I'll
All right,
do
cool.
the thing.
Grand entrance.
So you guys are all like kind of these ones that are just jamming up against you. You've sort of been pushed up against the side of the building, spear, and this one is like just come down on top of you. You've deflected this other one away from you, but it sort of spins around and sort of leering over the children. They're like, ah! So he like jumps up to me, no, save my friend! He's like just standing there with his short sword over you going, ah, ah, ah. And then from out of nowhere, you see this streak traveling at unnatural speed, just blaring out of the darkness through the snow, literally Naruto running, like as the snow sort of flies out behind him, and then makes, do you want to do flurry?
Yep.
Okay. Makes a series of attacks. Give me 3 attack rolls.
18. 5. 9.
Oh, he's modified.
No, not mods. So we're using dex.
Yep.
So that's
Plus proficiency.
20.
Attacks here.
Yeah, 23 attacks. Flurry is
It's alright, you're gonna
plus
be...
5,
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's fine.
plus 5 on each, so 14, 12, and 23.
Wow. So you're sitting there, this one sort of above you, like it just slammed you up against the wall, and then it sort of like cracks at the spine, and the top half of its body just slumps into the snow next to you, sort of like little hands, like ah. This one that's sort of like just peeled off and going on over the children, sort of like has this like short sword just jams up through its skull, piercing out through the top of it, and then a swinging back kick comes around and throws the body completely off of the top of you, and this thing was once on top of you is now just scattered in the snow, a mess of body parts still twitching and whinnying. And then, composed, standing before you all, you see
Rawson.
physical description.
So half elf, long grey hair, a neat goatee, with a cloak, and you just see basically dressed in looks like a monk's. Well, it's actually a martial arts gi. So, and both swords together.
Rough, loose-fitted clothes, wraps around the forearms and up the legs. All the clothes seem tattered, worn, but well worn and equipped for the weather. Hallmarks of life in the woods seem to be upon this
And
person.
pointed ears.
He carries a sling bag over one shoulder, in which seems to be a miscellaneous kit, bits and pieces, set for travel. And he says,
Rawson, at your service.
I'm still on my back, and I put my hand out and go, Bernard. And like I'm waiting for a handshake, but also
physical
hand up.
description, please.
A portly, 30-something, mutton chopped halfling in a dirty shirt and braces.
You help him to your feet. And Spear says,
Spear like stands up and is brushing the dirt off herself and rubbing her neck. And she says, "You know, I had it under control." And she has she's kind of an average height, kind of average build, quite muscular, blonde hair, kind of gray eyes, wearing plate armor, carrying a platinum shield with a dragon on it.
Not.
and then turning around with a black shield with a purple rim and carrying a rapier.
Technically, the shield got burnt.
Oh,
I remember.
A black shield, top to bottom.
Which I just remembered I no longer have. Where have you come from? Not that we're not grateful,
And more
obviously.
to the point, do you know any healing?
Oh.
No.
I say, look at that. Look at that.
I quickly cure wounds you.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh.
I do too.
No, I've only got a few hit points.
I came from the forest.
Double healing might be redundant.
And physical description, please.
Sorry, yes. So, I am in black leather armor. I'm relatively worn at this point. I have long black hair and ivory skin. However, quite a bit of that skin, particularly on my face, is marked with these purplish burns.
Scars from third-degree burns.
Scars.
As the skin
Yeah.
is warped and twisted in those spaces.
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
Sorry?
How'd you get that again?
I just met this guy. Come on.
She just was touching it, a little self-conscious.
I'm pleased to meet you all. We seem to have a situation here.
I was gonna say, there's no time for introductions.
Precisely.
Actually, the situation looks like it's over there now. Let's
Right.
So you guys quickly rush together over to the Cooper's house, which is where you're on your way to.
8 hit points.
That's what you kill.
That
And there you find the door is already open. Mr. Cooper sort of is like lying on the ground with 3 large claw marks from his neck to his chest. Mrs. Cooper and her daughter sort of stand in the corner. She's got a scythe that she's just actually makes an attack on it, and unfortunately misses, as its scythe makes for a rather clumsy weapon. But you admire her tenacity as she defends her child.
How many things are attacking her?
There's just one in the house.
Okay. Word of Radiance.
She's got this.
Oh, wait.
She's fine.
She's got a side.
Word of Radiance.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to make a Constitution saving throw.
Cool. Yep. It fails.
Cool.
And just like turns around, and as it twists, it sort of spinal cord dislocates in the middle, and it sort of like slumps down to the ground. And as it hits, it's like falls and tears apart, and a puff of black spores just explode like a puffball from it as it sort of hits the ground.
Now, it's just a zombie to us, but the Coopers, it's their neighbours, right?
Well, yes, that's
Neighbours
right.
of 20 years.
And she's like, you came back. Can you heal him? She says, pointing to her husband.
I can try. Is he unconscious?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
at one point
Just give
later,
me a medicine
Hands would be
roll.
I have Leon.
With proficiency, because you have the medical kit.
She seems to be having.
Well, the medical kit just
school.
stabilizes him without having to make a roll. But
Okay, no, that's
You don't
fine.
get
Then you
scars
do
with layman
stabilize
hands,
him.
right?
Okay.
People need
So, like, just
scars to learn.
Stop the major veins from bleeding, or the ones that
Stop
are
with major veins.
Yeah, champion. That's not seen the power of a healing kit in D&D 5th edition. Oh, it's magical.
it's pretty great.
It's not magical, but it's pretty great. Yeah. It can do some serious help. Yeah, he's unconscious. He's not coming back to consciousness anytime soon. But you stop him from dying.
All right.
You guys work together throughout the night to do 2 things. Well, 3 things really. The first thing you do is gather the survivors. The second thing you do is destroy the remainder of the zombies. The third thing you do is put out the various fires that were started. It doesn't seem like the zombies were starting the fires. It seemed like they had the intelligence to do so. But it seems like they were set sometime. Someone had just been setting fire to parts of the thatching on roofs that was just protected from the weather underneath. And these fires had sort of gone up on the underside of the roofs through the gaps in the buildings. Is anyone...
Well, then we
do
have
you
the
look-
firewolves, right?
Does-
As opposed to the black thing with them.
It looks like someone was trying to get rid of all the evidence.
Does anyone want to make... Everyone present can make a perception roll.
24.
Nothing.
11.
Okay.
7.
So you're uncertain as to who should or should not be accounted for, but you were present in the battle you were present in the battle in the Great Hall, and there were a lot of people who weren't present there, particularly key conspirators. So Mr. Avarice wasn't there, Mr. Wilde wasn't there, Mrs. Newmer wasn't there. Of course, Ivan has been accounted for, as you've seen him disappear into the Hell Dimension, swallowed by his own god.
Delicious.
And we know that also Aaron
You saw Aaron leave
ride
on the
off
horse,
towards the
and that was a day ago.
yeah.
So they went towards the North Road. But apart from that, there are several people from the inner circle, and they're missing.
Few people missing.
Can we follow the fire and then possibly tracks in the snow? See if they're left as a group?
Does anyone want to make either an investigation roll or a tracking roll?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. I both suck at them. I'll make an investigation roll.
Should we all?
14.
So you guys each find a single set of tracks, both going in different directions, leaving the town. One heads in the direction of the source of the river that runs to Neverwinter, which is the direction that you came from, but via a different route.
Mhm.
So you came down the hill and they went up nearer the mountain. And the other one is also going more due east. And again, they're just going straight into the forest. A single set of footprints in each case. Those are the ones that you find.
I think they might have scattered.
One's going east, another one's heading to
West, essentially.
Isn't there another compound, Strachan's place, or
Is the Lord's mansion?
The Lord's Manor is due west. Due east, sorry.
And there's tracks leading in that direction.
There are tracks leading in that direction.
And we know-
And that's possibly also where Erin left, or was she heading out?
Erin
a
was
different
going
direction?
towards the North Road. She was leaving, going to the... But she may have turned to go in that direction. So, the Lord's Manor is nearby to Ellsdale. And the Lord's Manor is the traditional home of Lord Andal Wentworth, who was bequeathed these lands as a retirement gift from the Lord's Alliance. These were these lands to look after and be the lord of. He wasn't born into nobility, but he worked his way up and earned his positions. His sons went to the war. They fought in the battle for Iron Pass. You're not sure if they survived, but they left their home to do that.
I'm not sure we've survived yet.
May I suggest that we have 3 different directions. People may be wondering it. But doing God's work has been really tiring. And maybe we should regroup, gather the survivors, and take her some rest.
I agree.
Okay.
Hang on, but let's sketch out 3 things. Erin potentially is one of them. She was fully undead, right?
I think it's not. Yeah, I don't think it's potentially. I think she's.
She's one of them.
She
So
is
if she's
one of
going to
them.
Neverwinter, she's doing their bidding
Yeah.
to try and
Well, she's heading
spread that
north.
fake news.
Yeah, she's heading north. I think Netherwinter is west.
That's correct, yeah.
So, but I still believe that she's probably doing their bidding.
Yeah, it
But
seems
if
to...
all of these fungus people are falling apart and going, rotten zombie, might be happening to her too.
Well, I think to recap what I think we're seeing, I think that they have abandoned this town as a stronghold now that we have infiltrated their ranks. I think that their higher-ups have fled and scattered to the wind, and I think that they have released their hold on the undead here and allowed them to deteriorate while setting fires in a hope to stamp out everything here so that there's no trace of what happened. That doesn't mean that they've let Erin deteriorate. She might be playing a key role since she was sent before we had, taken care of things.
So I'm going to say that at this point, you guys settle down for the evening. You consolidate everyone to a single
What's Rosin doing here? When do you
Yeah.
walk out of the
Perhaps
snow
we
on a
also-
day like this?
We might want to
Yeah,
tell
of
the
course.
newcomer the story of our adventure thus far.
That would be useful, and I can fill you in on
Okay,
the
people are
fact.
still running around though.
Yeah, can
Okay.
You've
So
got
shall
everyone
we-
together, they're
can we
like, what do
gather
we
them
do? Where do
all
we
and
go?
then- Well, I think that the first thing to do is to get comfortable and have a sleep and get everyone well rested and not panicking, and we will gather them together tomorrow and
Well,
inform them
Everyone
about
should
the
stick around the
decisions.
smithy, right?
Yeah, the barn's probably the biggest area that's kind of central.
Is it
So she-
defensible?
Well,
As
they're all
defensible as anywhere
buildings.
else.
So,
How many people are there? total?
20.
20?
It's just
So
4
we'd all-
families.
We'd all fit in a barn?
You'd all fit in the barn, yeah. You'd all fit in the barn or the Great Hall.
Okay. Can we bring any icons of Maliki?
So the barn is already blessed by Maliki.
Okay, let's go to the barn then, because we know that Maliki provides some protection from this ailment.
Yep, let's gather everyone. Let's try to find as much food, as supplies as we can that hasn't been infected.
I've still got some charges to be able to cleanse food.
So Spear produces
I
a unicorn
actually-
horn. As a half-elf who grew up in the forest that you did with the high elves, you instantly recognize it
Yes.
as a powerful artifact of the Fae.
And also a piece of sacred creature being
Yeah.
wielded as a utilitarian object.
I have a ritual that can bless food and drink, purify food of drink. So why don't we do that instead of wasting more?
Okay, I'll hide the
Charges.
unicorn back away. I think there's only 4 charges left.
Okay.
They'll return in the morning.
They return in the morning. Oh, then there's 9. Or there's, I think I
They'll
used
return when
3
the sun
in
rises this morning.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm going to purify food and drink, collect as much food and drink as possible, and
Put it all in
purify
10 foot
Yeah, 10
radius.
foot, yeah.
So may I inquire where you acquired that particular artifact?
It's a long story.
I have time.
Well, you will now. Now that you're all collected and at the barn, everyone's like settling down. Bren Smith, he gets the fire going in the forge to heat up the wall and just start making
Let's
it
sit
warm, and you
and
all
eat.
settle down.
And we'll share our stories.
That would be wise.
I think we should, can we all tell separate pieces of the story? You want to tell the story of the war and how we got here?
Well, no, actually, I want to find out what this guy's story is.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
I
just plopped
feel
out of the
like-
middle of nowhere.
No, he did
Have you got
say-
somewhere better for us to be, frankly, because we came out of a war, we hit this town, stuff's gone pretty bad, and you rock up at the end, and it's like, did you come from somewhere better than this?
Doran
And how do we
steps
get
out.
there?
So from the shadows of the barn in the corner of the group, a man steps forward. He's grizzled
Oh,
and
Doran's awake.
scarred.
Let Doran do it.
Grizzled and scarred, and he's got a heavy beard. He walks with a slight limp. He goes, I have a more pressing question. Seeing as our druid is out, perhaps he should be blessed with the unicorn horn. Or perhaps we should see if he bleeds. These creatures, you see. What was your name again, sir?
Rawson.
Rawson. Their blood is replaced with the black, putrid spore that runs through their very veins.
Yes, I know. I've seen it before.
Well, then if you cut yourself and you bleed, we will know you are not one of them.
Done.
So, you roll it.
Oh!
Everyone's like, oh! The barn's taken aback. It's like, Doran cuts his own hand and extends it to shake yours.
I clasp his hand.
That is so wrong. That's
It's good to see another of the living. We can trust him.
I agree, we need to win trust.
We need to heal their wounds. You can't, like, there's.
It's a minor wound. It does me no harm.
Yes, let's tell our story first. So, we were part of the war effort against the orcs when we were ambushed in the, what was the battle?
Battle for Iron
In the
Pass.
battle for Iron Pass. You may have heard the tales.
Yes, I have heard the tales.
Well, we managed to survive with a small troop of us and faced a harsh winter. And on our way to Neverwinter, we came across this town. It was a small band of us, fatigued, in pain, and we sought shelter here. And then we discovered that there were fiends and undead everywhere we looked. The town seemed to be overtaken by an illness.
Ghost firewolves, giant ones.
There were
Fire-breathing wolves.
there were
That I have not seen.
there were hellhounds. There were the undead, and the dead animated again. It seemed to all be coming from this group, this inner circle by the Ivan who led the town, who was distributing some kind of potion that would turn people into these undead. We followed him down into his lair, and we managed to close the portal he opened to what could only be described as hell.
But a lot of this trouble seems to draw back to a man called Strachan, who came to this town several months ago and killed a unicorn, who was one of the guardians of the area, who brought in, seems
Killed
to
and
be...
imprisoned, really.
Yeah.
Yes, I want you to know that when we found this unicorn head stuffed amongst on a mantle in Ivan's chambers, by removing the horn, I freed its spirit.
Thank you.
And but Strachan also brought a huge amount of wealth into the town as well, and they were looking at spreading their influence beyond
By influence,
here.
I think they mean evil juju,
Yeah.
poison juice that's masquerading as a healing potion on the cheap.
So as you can see, we're on the same side here.
I don't know, what side's this guy on?
Well, we saw him kill some undead. We know he
Yeah.
has ties to the forest, and he's concerned by the death of a unicorn. He's not undead. He seems concerned by the sight of a fae that
Does
is
he- is he
killed. I assume
concerned,
that he is
or-
on the side of justice,
Can I get,
the side
can
of
I get an
good.
insight check? Is he seeming concerned?
Critical failure.
Doesn't seem
He doesn't
concerned
roll
at all.
ones. What are you talking about?
Oh, you don't.
Bernard
roll one.
doesn't roll ones.
Oh, no, I don't roll. I rolled a 12, 16.
Yeah, his concern seems genuine, though he's very well composed. And if he was choosing to deceive you, he could possibly be deceiving you. But it does seem genuine in this case.
You seem like none of this is a surprise.
No. I've actually been living in the forest around this area after having left the employ of the Purple Finch Society.
The Purple Finch Society?
Yes.
Would we have any knowledge of this?
Bernard does.
I
If
do.
Bernard remembers.
Do I remember?
You want to use one of your portent dice.
Well, I
don't think you've got any
I
left.
don't have. I have one. I think it's a 3.
No, you know about the Purple Finch Society. The Purple Finch Society is something that you came across during the time that you were captured by the orcs. They had captured you, and they spoke of, you overheard around the campfire, that they finally ambushed and killed not all, but most of a band of warriors who had been harassing them, sneaking over in the dead of night and just wiping out orc villages single-handedly, like a group of like 15 soldiers. They just come in the night. They were all dressed in Lord's Alliance army costumes, and they just kill everyone in the village, men, women, children, burn it to the ground, leave a few alive. It's always important, and then leave. And they did it consistently, and they'd been doing this for 6 months.
And these people
Since
were called.
since before the orcs started raiding, they'd been agitating.
These people were called the Purple.
Well, the orcs, they found them. They ambushed a group, and they killed some of them, and they found some documents that were letters from an unknown agent in Waterdeep. They were written from an address in Waterdeep, and they referred to this group as the Purple Finch Society.
Purple Finch Society. And you worked for the Purple Finch Society?
Yes. We were I was specifically tasked with basically speaking of the orcs, and as a person who is interested in story and the stories that human beings tell one another, or all creatures tell one another, about who is what and what is who, I followed their instructions based on the information provided to me, to travel up the Sword Coast with these bands. Once I got to the point where I discovered that these people were specifically engaging in activities which I disagreed with, I left their employ and basically decided to return to Neverwinter, and I was actually originally going to head.
So what you're saying is that you were sort of employed because of your understanding of orcs and travel?
My understanding of story and the power of story.
So for their
Yeah,
propaganda.
we're really
Yeah.
I have learnt quite a bit of philosophy during my years travelling across Toril. So I have encountered many different races of creatures, both my own, well...
Now that he's saying this, you all notice that his dress is very distinctly foreign. Like, it seemed quite simple in the darkness, but now you're seeing in the light, he wears his beard and his hair in a very specific way, in a way of people to the east, anyone who's well-traveled. He just definitely seems like a foreigner. Anyone can make a history roll, see if you can pick up specifics as to his dress. You can have an advantage on your
Man, I
roll.
am rolling
Okay.
very badly.
I got a nat 20. I know exactly where he's from.
Well, there are two places distinctly where he's from. How was yours?
13.
You recognize that his style of dress and the way he wears his clothes and binds his robes are distinctly that of the tribes of the steppe people of the horse lords to the far east.
Is that a monastic tradition? Does it explain what's going on here?
Quite possibly, but not really. They were more like a reasonably aggressive warrior groups,
Okay.
nomadic peoples.
Okay. But not half-elven, or?
No, human. But then Sarya, there are several items in particular of braiding and just beading in some parts of his hair that are distinctly gold elven. So of the highest order of elven aristocracy. And they're small, they're minor, but they're still there and they're unmistakable. And you know it because emissaries from the Gold Elves have visited your island because your society, where you grew up, was held in that level of regard.
Not just a country bumpkin.
Yick.
I'm like, ooh, fancy.
I like your hair.
I should try
You're
that.
the pointy end of God's opinion.
Yeah, it's I'm like, philosophy. Who needs philosophy? I know what reality looks like.
True, trust in the gods.
That's right.
Reality
When
is
you
an
have
illusion.
faith, you don't need to question.
So, yes, sorry, continue.
Tell me more of this, because like these purple finches were, by my hearing, culpable of
Yes,
pretty nasty
I
shit.
suspect that was the next part of the process. From what you've told me, it seems that that was the next part of a process to embed story within the minds of certain people. So it seems that the specific task of this has been to actually inflame troubles between different communities.
So the purple finches probably started this whole trouble.
From what you tell me and from what I understand, that is a high probability.
You hear a small, meek voice sort of come up from the back of the room, sort of like a little red, rosy-cheeked face with a small pot helm and fat fingers. Sort of looks off and says, "The purple finch is not unknown to the White Hawks either," says Brandy Barrel Boy as he rubs his hand over the fire. "We had taken our turn doing jobs for them. I believe it was in one of those jobs that we rescued you from your captors, Mr. Witchkicked."
Yes. Yeah, I spent some time in orc captivity and came to come to know their ways. I was liberated and absorbed into the White Hawks. So, Purple Finch history, White Hawk history, war is hell, and we all do terrible things. It's more about what we do now to redeem ourselves.
Speaking
in our
of now,
association.
you say you've been in these woods for how long?
About 6 months, even longer.
6 months. That's interesting. Wasn't it around 6 months ago people started falling ill? Or was
That's
that
correct.
I've been living off the land, and I did notice I've actually gone vegetarian in that time for one very simple reason. All of the animals that I was encountering had similar issues to the humans that we have dealt with this
yes,
evening.
the tubers. We noticed that.
Yeah,
I
we saw
noticed that anything that I hunted, if it was a living creature, they were not as advanced as what these humans seem to have been, but they certainly had
We're
the
infected.
starting of such things.
So wait a minute. How did you find yourself in these woods exactly? It seems strange to me that these purple finches and the white hawks are connected, and were you in the woods?
It's the
on-
water. Wait a
It's
second.
in the
it's
water.
The water. What about how the animals getting it? I mean, turning people, feeding them the food, pouring that potion down there.
Well, I mean,
Those
a unicorn
potions can
was
go.
killed too.
Who was going
so-
to the Never? Where does the river that feeds Neverwinter go? Where's that track? Who went there? Who the hell was going there?
We don't know who. We just know someone was.
That's where we got to go next.
Well,
In case it's
what
in the
have you
water.
noticed in your 6 months in these woods? Is there anything that can indicate which path we should follow forward?
I've been living mostly in the northeast. I was coming down from Mirabar, heading towards Neverwinter, but moving very slowly, primarily to avoid the fracas that had occurred. There were lots of military units running around through the area. I was avoiding both orcs and humans for the very simple reason that I suspect that my former employers are not particularly happy with me for departing. And I certainly suspect that under the circumstances, the orcs are not particularly happy with any human at all. And of course, I can always make the statement that I'm a half-elf, but I don't think that will make much difference at the present point in time. So I've been avoiding that and basically living off the land, and I've not actually been taking water from the main water sources. I have actually been using springs and other sources of water, which I know generally are far safer.
Okay. Well, that doesn't help.
You haven't noticed any particular problems with animals that have been drinking
No.
from the water. One thing you have noticed is that carnivorous animals, wolves, and such like, and bears, are always in a more accelerated state than other animals. You found as you've been coming closer and closer, trying to track the source, that you don't think it's the water, because otherwise it would be concentrated around the water.
In certain locations, yeah.
Your suspicion is that it's something to do with the trees themselves. So the rot is either coming up through the ground, or some trees are infected.
And what do you know about these fungus druids? Spore druids?
Spore druids.
No? Okay.
I've not encountered any. But then again, as I said, I've been avoiding sentient creatures for quite some time. So I've not actually seen anyone in the forest engaging in that sort of activity. My interactions have been very limited. But I have been tracking the source, and the severity of the infections have led me to this place.
Yeah, well, I probably would have kept leading you down that hole under that building 3 over.
That's where the Hellmouth is.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad we're standing in the epicenter.
Can I... I'm gonna pull out the mask if we're not visible to other people.
You guys go up into the hayloft. Take a bit of privacy from the rest of the group.
Okay, I'm gonna pull out the mask and inspect it.
Okay, you look at it carefully. It is in fact a mask. It seems to be made of pure platinum. It has some lines on it that are carved into a face. The face generally has a grumpy disposition. As you hold it in your hands, you realize that it has now shrunk in size, whereas previously it was almost shield size. Now it's
Human size?
It's human size, and as you're holding it and you roll it around, you look inside and you realize that the inside of the mask now carries an impression of your face.
I thought would happen. Just as I suspected. Interesting. Does anyone know anything about this platinum mask? Exactly what happened? It fell off the big giant wolf.
Yeah, so
creature.
the Prince of Wolves died. It's a giant ghostly wolf, an ethereal creature that could become corporeal or incorporeal at will, and
Prince of
shift through
Darkness.
walls. Prince of Darkness, they call him. But when they eventually poured enough magical and even some mundane damage into it, its form dissipated, it disappeared, and it was unable to bind itself in this dimension anymore. And this mask that at the time appeared to be a marble mask, white stone, fell off and then transformed into platinum mask. I picked it up, and it's just been shrinking ever since until now it is this size and an impression of your face because you've been handling
Soon it'll be half the size.
Yeah, the moment I hand it to you.
it.
Arcana checks.
Yeah.
Anyone good at that?
Oh, I'm great at it. You want to let me touch the thing?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, look.
Take a look at this one, Bernard.
Yeah, behold, see how it shapes to fit my face over a period of time. Maybe if I shake it, it'll happen a little faster.
If it doesn't, at least it's a good
the future
illusion.
looks bleak.
Look, it's all floppy, it's floppy, it's floppy, it's floppy.
No, it's definitely solid. I mean, the platinum alone would be worth a bunch of money. The fact that it's magic. Look,
My suggestion is that you guys get ready and I put it on because I'll be easy to stop when I go into the full beast
I don't
mode.
think we should experiment
Whereas
that far.
then you, what?
What did you get on your Arcana roll?
My Arcana roll was awesome, 12.
It seems like there's some kind. It's definitely a magical item. What kind of magical item? You're not sure. When you did your detection on it, originally when it first came off, you detected that it had, like the coins, an infernal taint. It wasn't inherently infernal. It wasn't infernal magic that made it.
I'm giving them the full spiel. Interesting. Definitely magical. Arcana. I believe that its function is actually triggered upon being placed onto the face. Notice how it takes the impression of the person handling it.
You're holding it. It's like this
I'm like,
weird
yeah.
half mutation between Spear's face and Bernard's face. His
slowly
ears like
taking
start
on
sticking
the-
out the side.
Taking on the concavities of my own expression.
Look at the mutton chops as they grow.
I believe that the magical effects will become clearer when worn, or as they say in magical terms, donned.
Okay, I
and
snatch
pass
it off
back.
him. Yeah, as he passes it back. Quite a good performance then. So we're no closer to solving this. What we do know is that we're all on the same side.
The other thing you know is you haven't really thoroughly investigated the buildings in the town.
No.
Like, you visited them, but you've just been going point to point.
Okay, shall we have a long rest?
Yes!
So what we'll do is we'll take a long rest and then do a thorough investigation of
Yes.
the town. So we're just going to go into an open period. There's no more threats present in the town. There are two things that happen when you first wake in the morning. The first is that Gus gets up and immediately asks you what's happened. You tell him that you found some tracks, and he becomes distinctly resolved to try and find the people who have escaped as quickly as possible. And he turns into a horse, and he takes Noriko and Spear and also Lynn, your friend, the raconteur, says there are enough supplies here, and if you don't mind me taking a horse, I might also make my leave. It seems from what you've said, these forces are just moving farther south. I think I'll take my chances.
Alright.
Never split the party, I say as I run up and go around the way.
She goes, don't worry, Bernard. You'll see me soon enough. Just don't go wrestling any horses anytime soon, okay? Not again. She says her goodbyes. She takes a horse and she leaves. Noriko and Gus ride off in pursuit of some of the individuals who left. You're not quite sure who they were, but they're following the tracks. It looks like the snow will be riding. He goes, we've got to go before the snow comes in again, because otherwise we'll lose them completely. And it's coming in the next 6 hours.
They just left without saying goodbye.
They do say you'll all part your ways at the barn in the morning. But once they have departed to take care of some business, and Gus says, I will be back. I feel a new lease on life, and there is work here to be done. In the meantime, make the decisions. And he leaves with Noriko. But apart from that, you're now in the town. So get up in the morning. Is there anything, this is the first time that apart from the other day where you were very relaxed, but this is the first time there isn't some kind of weight hanging over your head.
I'm gonna try and braid my hair like his hair.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop her. And I'm just gonna
What? This isn't cultural
But
appropriation, okay?
I pull Spear aside and I go, just maybe don't do that. It's actually quite a status symbol, and you just don't belong in that group. Maybe just don't.
Ooh, it's a half elf thing.
I'll give you a dexterity roll. I want to see if you can even do it. It's really intricate.
I'm going to help you. I'll give you advantage, but I'm going to steer it away from culturally appropriated half elven braid
Advantage?
and towards.
Well, no, I did not succeed. My highest roll was 8.
Okay, well, you're trying to do it, and she's naysaying you.
But I'm really proud of myself the
Yeah,
whole time.
yeah.
And, I think it looks great.
And sorry, can I just ask real quickly? The gold elvens.
Golden elves.
Golden elves. I don't know why I
Sweet
wrote
gold elves.
Gold
Often
elves.
with gold eyes.
gold elves. Are they often full elves?
They're always full elves. And
So
a half
you're a
elf
weird
is
class.
the biggest disgrace that could
Yes, I can
possibly
see
befall a gold elf family, and will often lead to a whole strata of society being shunned or de-elevating. Often they try and keep those things secret, and they will just kill them secretly in the night because they're lawful good, and that's what you do when you're lawful good. You just kill them before anyone else finds out. And that's okay. The fact that
I'm sorry, but
a
what?
half elf
It's the best for all involved.
the fact that a half
It
elf
aligns
The
with my
greater
internal
good.
code
It's
is
Like
fun.
openly wearing.
has been brought up in that society to such a degree that they have mastered the finer arts of the upper class is actually quite an anomaly. Because normally they'd either be killed or ejected from the society at a very early age, or their parents would have been ejected from the society along with them.
Stolen valor, man. He's faking it.
I'm
Can't
gonna.
possibly be.
Anyway, so that's,
So this morning, welcome.
Yes.
Very excited about today's events. Very excited about what we've accomplished already. Shall we? Do we want to search together, just building to building? How do we want this to play?
Well,
I'd
we,
say
I
we
think
have
it's faster if we split up.
2 sets of tracks.
I want to go with that elf.
I think I think I'm gonna go with Dirk if anyone is.
Rossin.
I want to go with the competent one. No, how come you guys get to go with the... No,
What
I'm...
did I say?
Yeah, Bernard.
Jeez. I thought we were friends.
We've nothing
Well, I
but
mean, I thought you were
confidence.
friends with her at least.
Well, yeah.
So who's coming with me then? Does it mean we're going together?
I guess we're going.
Well,
Hey!
well,
Carry my
if
shields.
we do
Yeah,
pair
I'll
up, if
totally
we do pair up, we can investigate the buildings in the village very quickly, and then check the 2 trails. And if the discussions last night pan out, then there's a possibility that the 2 trails actually end up in the same place.
Guys,
Although-
here is a list of all the locations in and near the town. Some of them are you've already been to, some of them you haven't.
Alright, that's a lot.
But some of them are just
Yep.
farmsteads, some of them I can fill in any gaps. If you want.
Oh, this house.
Sorry, I just passed that over.
That's quite right.
I would like to go to the ruined church.
You guys pass through in church on your way into town. So there's a stream that sort of cuts the bulk of the forest off from the main part of the town. It just runs in front of the town square. There's a watermill just off to one side.
Doctor's house.
And then there's, just on the other side, on your left as you're entering the town, there's the large ruins of...
Well, you guys have been already into the Great Hall, so that's fine.
We've done a lot of investigating in the Great Hall.
That apparently
I mean,
we all
it's-
know what specifically is in there.
Well, from what your suppositions were, the chambers that you were in were beneath the Great Hall. Or at least part of them were.
Because it folded back around. And
That's
came
correct, yeah.
We've kind of done the witch's house.
Shall I just rip the list in half and shall we take half each?
Why do we going to rip it into corners?
No,
Trust our own dice rolls. Why go with advantage? Help each other.
Because my investigation's awful.
So is mine.
How's your perception check for when the
Why
combat
don't
starts?
Good.
you can
Okay, so I'm
all-
going with the deaf paladin. I'm standing near the paladin with low perception check. And then
Yeah, I'm not
this
gonna
guy's
be able
going to
to see
hear.
you.
Yeah, and this guy's going to hear us when we get in trouble. All right, let's split the list in half. Let's do it. We can do this.
I believe in us.
Okay.
Obviously, omit the villa. Because that will probably be the last
The
place.
villa is 4 days from here.
And give me the half of the list with the doctor's
Right.
house.
Okay. Let me just do a little bit of that.
Yep.
Yep. No.
Would you like a knife?
No, that's cool.
Good card.
Yes.
There we go. Alright.
Woo!
Alright.
Alright, so let's start. Let's go one for one. So, where are the guys on my left going first? So, Spear and Bernard.
Well, we're starting in the Great Hall.
Alright, so you look around the Great Hall. Give me an investigation roll.
Woo!
Nice one.
Oh, I actually rolled well for once this game. 16, 17. We both did.
I
quite-
did 21. Modifies.
Alright, cool. Well, you can see now that there are parts of the floorboards that sort of where they're broken, or you can see gaps that now go down into sort of the underchambers, and you get the smell coming up from the
Partial
rotting
collapse.
vegetable matter. There's some areas where the floor is no longer supported as well, where the ceiling is kind of collapsing. You can see a hole that goes clear down. Apart from that, you do find that there is a small chamber behind the main set of thrones, as they were. Just you sort of like move a few bricks, and there's just a little hollow beneath the throne room, and in there you pull out a small chest that seems to be full of two things. In it there are 3 healing potions, which you recognize as being the vibrant red liquid, and then there are there is a small box, and it is small iron-bound box, and inside it you find a selection of gems, probably worth about 500 gold. There are also rubies and emeralds and some amethyst and sapphire. Just a selection.
Yeah.
But it looks like this hasn't been touched for a long time. It hasn't been put here recently.
Okay.
Apart from that, there doesn't seem like in the Great Hall itself there's not much else. But you go off to the side and you see there's the kitchen. And in the kitchen, you've been in there before. The same thing I described last time. There are the tubers, which are the poisoned vegetables that have obviously been extracted from other creatures. There are lots of sauces and liquids and supplies and meats and no vegetables. But there are grains and some old loaves of bread. Just from the last few days. They're still good. And there's also cheeses.
Yeah, but we kind of needed detect undead or whatever. Detect fungus. Who was doing that? Gus was telling us how
I can detect undead.
rotten things were. Food was.
I can detect.
Maybe the bread's okay. Let's not risk it. We'll get it out of here and then we'll start scrambling.
Well, you guys can always just purify yourselves. And you can purify for your food and drink, because that's one of the spells that is inherently in the unicorn's horn.
That's right.
So you could purify everything in this kitchen if you wanted to.
Cool.
Including the diseased tubers.
Cool. Shall I do so? Do we need to purify things?
Look, if I was holding that unicorn horn, I'd be tapping it on everything.
Sure. Let's.
La da 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 da
Climb
da
up.
da
It has 9 charges.
Yeah, you guys have been devoid of the really good food, apart from that one evening where you sat down and Gus purified food and drink on the main table and realized how amazing the food is. Now it's all there. And you have been last time you walked into the kitchen.
Unlike the
Ever since you were offered that sausage, you were wandering around with that sausage, offering it to everybody and not eating it yourself. But now you can. But yeah, look, that's pretty much all that's adjacent to the Great Hall. You've already investigated the stables.
Yep, I'm crossing it off.
Cool.
I think
So
we got a
who's
good
taking,
haul.
Who's taking the healing potions? Did you take notes?
You guys just want to mark them down and figure
Yeah,
out
yeah.
later how to distribute them? Alright, so, Rosin and Saya.
The
Thatcher's
Thatcher's cottage.
Okay, so the Thatcher's Cottage, that was where one of the Maliki worshippers were. So if you guys want to cross that off completely, there's nothing of significance there.
Cool.
I'll let you go on to the next thing.
The Cooper's house, which I would imagine is much the same.
Much the same, but the Coopers at the house, they say, look, there's the vineyard next door, which may also be on your list. I'm not sure if it's on your list.
The winery, yes.
The winery, yeah.
Yes.
So they talk about the winery and they say, look, there are wines that are stored in the basement. We kind of just make the barrels for them because we live next door. And the people who run the winery, they are the people of interest.
Oh.
They are one of the people of interest.
Avarice or Newman or?
No, not the
Ryan?
numerous, not Avarice. It is the Stalin family with Isadora Stalin, who runs the vineyard. So Isadora is also missing with her 2 children.
Interesting. Definitely a place to investigate.
Yeah.
So they were part of this inner circle that Spear described to you. earlier.
Well, we might head over to the winery then.
Okay. So, on approach to the winery, you sort of see that the sun is finally coming. This is actually one of the first times that you guys have seen this village properly in the light of day, because since you arrived, you've been sleeping through the days and skullduging in the nights. You look around and you can see the hazy blue silhouette of the Mount Huttnall range as the sort of clouds are parting and the sun's coming through the sky and the crisp air captures you. And this is the first time you're really struck with the beauty of this place. Like just this natural, isolated village surrounded by ancient pines in the middle of this mountainous range in the foothills where they meet the forests. This is something that you've been really soaking in the whole time you've been in here, but having the clearing of the valley and just being able to sit there in that space to look out and just take all this in it's really
I
great.
felt that way from the Ellensdale marker we found in the forest, all the way to the murdered child body. Then it evaporated, and the wonder evaporated.
So, but we wander over and there's no smoke has been coming out of this chimney. The front door is open, and you walk in, and the place seems to have been abandoned. There's a meal on the table. There's shelves in the pantry. It doesn't look like a lot of the things in the pantry haven't been touched for a long time. But that would make some kind of sense to you because you know that they've been living mostly in the main hall. But even then, like, there's no sign of anyone having really inhabited this place for quite some time. Now, that is different when it comes to a trapdoor at the far end. You can see it's not a concealed trapdoor, it's a big double trapdoor with a door on the back, and this is quite typical of a wine cellar. So it's probably where they're storing the large barrels, because that's what the double trapdoor is suitable to do.
Can I just look at, like, do a good investigation of the double trapdoor? 17.
It is not a trapped trapdoor.
Right.
No, nothing. You listen, nothing seems to be down there. It all seems to be pretty conventional from what you can tell.
Is it locked?
It is not locked.
Right. Shall
Usually-
we?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's how
it's even. It's
looked.
got chains and some little pulleys. You just pull the chains, things click, 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 click. No dust comes off them, so it seems like they've been traffic down here
Maintained, yeah.
recently. The stairs going down are swept, and just next to the door, just inside, you see like a little oil lantern actually just hanging on the wall, and also a taper, so that you can. It's got a taper built into it, so you can just take out the taper and light what you assume would be wall torches or wall lanterns on the way down as you go in.
Well, that's something that you will require.
Thank you. I'm also an elf.
I will, out of pride, I don't take the taper. Walk straight into the darkness.
So in your study of wood elves, you're like, originally you're like, what kind of elf is this Saya? You're really like uncertain, but after a while you start to get they're very distant. They're not so much a part of who she is, her personality separates from them quite distinctly, but there's definitely some colloquialisms of wood elf culture. Not just rugged, rustic wood elf culture, it seems to be like the higher end of wood elf culture. Interesting line.
The banjo playing's part of wood elf.
No,
the opposite.
the ones,
We're not backwater hicks. We're like
Like spear.
they're the ones that exist parallel to
My brains are beautiful.
to the high elves.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, I know that one all too well.
So yeah, you like the tape?
No,
Oh,
I
of course
walk
you don't
in
need
with
to.
darkness. I don't need to.
Neither of us need to do that. No.
Okay, well, with the sunlight going in, it casts a dim light throughout the whole of the wine cellar, which for you is enough to be able to see as if it were daylight.
Daylight, yes.
Because you are obviously the superior race.
Clearly.
As you walk down, the stairs, as I said, it's all well maintained. People have been around here. You sort of glance around, and there are barrels upon barrels. It looks like, as well as the old cellars that have been built down here within the last 18 months, this place has been expanded and a lot of new construction has been pushed out. There are probably, at a rough count, about 500 barrels of wine down here. Of those 500 barrels, you would say 60 to 70% of those are newly installed. And the ones that are not newly installed, if you can make some investigation checks for me, please.
Odd you.
Yeah, I got a 5.
11.
Yeah. Some are new barrels, some are old barrels.
Yep.
Alright.
But the new barrels, yeah, you could. The Cooper's, Mrs. Cooper is with you, because she is taking you down to her house,
Yep.
and she's just at the bottom of the stairs poking around. So yeah, she's just hanging around. She sort of comes down with the torch. Oh, you guys probably need some light down here. She's like, oh, I can't believe you're just walking around here in the dark.
Oh, yes.
It's ever so
Thank you.
creepy with all those creatures around here. Make sure it starts going around lighting all the tapers on the walls.
Thank you, Mrs. Cooper. Mrs. Cooper, you seem to know a little bit about the winery. There seems to be quite
My family made all these barrels.
Yeah, do you know why there's newer...
So many new ones?
Yeah, well, we had such a bountiful harvest this year. I'm not sure if you knew, but Mr. Abbas and Mr. Wild, they invested quite a lot of money into the Stalin's operation here. And when they did so, they did a lot of expanding here. We were kept busy for quite a period of time. So they came in, they sent money in advance, but they arrived 6 months ago. But even in advance of that, for the last 12 months, we've been working hard making extra barrels. And a bunch of the other families have been building out and digging out this underground area. But the strangest thing is that they, apart from maybe those 5 barrels there, and she points to a line of old barrels, all of the rest of the old barrels, they brought to us empty and had us reseal in preparation for new wine to go into it. And I really don't think that everyone in this town could have drunk 30 barrels of wine. At least not within a week, anyway.
Was the vineyard itself expanded?
Yes.
So they planted new vines?
They planted. It was remarkable. It was within this 12-month period. They not only they put the grapes in the ground, and then within 6 months they were coming in the height of winter, in the height of summer. It all bore more fruit than I'd ever seen vines bear.
Unusual.
My entire life. It was very unusual. I mean, we've been here for 4 generations, our family, and we've never seen such a fat harvest.
Would you say that it's potentially unnatural?
Well, in light of everything else that I've seen in the last 48 hours, to be honest, I wouldn't put anything past the devilry. There's been working in this forest?
I'm going to go over to like the 5 old barrels that are left.
Yep.
Use purify food and drink.
Yep.
And then just like fill a flask with. Oh no, they're not open, are they? I don't want to.
No, but you can just like.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
got a cork
Tap the
on the
barrel.
bottom. You can just
Yeah.
tap it.
Yeah, I'll tap one on the barrel and start filling.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want some grog on me.
Well, the aroma comes out, and you're like, whoa.
Okay.
It's really, really, really high quality. That's like the better than anything that you've had here.
Shit, really.
And you think maybe the reason they've kept this is because it is so far superior in quality to even the other ones that they probably emptied, that they wanted to keep it.
There's
or-
some stuff they couldn't tip out.
Yeah, like even these demon fungal creatures from another dimension recognized that there was some intense value in this wine. How? Why? I'm not sure.
It's a good thing Gus isn't here. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
He took Barrel Boy with him, right?
Yeah, no.
No, Barrel Boy's here.
Brandy Boy stayed around because there was only room for Noriko and Gus, because Gus took Noriko on the horse.
Alright. Okay, well, obviously I'm pretty sure this wine is pretty dodgy. Call me crazy.
It's hard to tell. Someone who may have better knowledge of this sort of thing might be of use to us.
Let me check my.
If only you knew someone who spent their entire life.
There was
pursuing
one other
potions
thing.
of mouth.
There's one other thing.
Yeah, which is at the very back, and behind. So Mrs. Cooper's walking around and she's like, "Oh, this is strange." She points it out to you because you guys failed your investigation.
Yep.
Hey,
But
Mrs.
she
Cooper.
knows this place really well.
Uh-huh.
And she points out 10 barrels that are behind the first row of barrels in the back, and they're all marked with the X's on them.
That's rather suspicious.
So suspicious. Just in chalk though, so it would be wiped off very easily.
Yeah.
Can I just slosh one around a bit?
They're big barrels. They're too
yeah,
heavy
that's
for you
right.
to. You can like they're a bit too heavy.
But they like feel like
They're full of liquid.
liquid.
Yeah, they're not too heavy. They're appropriately heavy for their
Okay.
size.
Okay. Do
I'm
we?
looking for a supply of. Well, we collectively are looking for a supply of potion, right? That healing
Effectively.
juice that they're trying to.
Question. Do we have a clear receptacle?
I'm sure we do.
Like a glass vial.
Yeah.
You remember seeing some in the doctor's house?
Yeah, I can get some.
All right.
If we decant that, like from the X-barreled, it may look different to normal wine, and we may be able to investigate it.
There'd be a decanter in this house,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah, let's go find a decanter and we'll pour it.
Yeah, you find there's glass in the Stalin's house.
Yeah.
Like you just go upstairs and you just
Winery
like see
with
there's
glasses.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's like some rough glass, crude glass bottles.
We'll just take. Let me take 5 bottles. I'm gonna
There's
take
only
one.
like 10 of them, and they're all in like these boxes packed in hay, for obviously for special occasions.
Okay.
And they're like a dark brown or dark green glass.
I'm gonna take one of those bottles and give it to you, and I'll say start tapping it, and then I'll call Mrs. Cooper over, and I'll just say the rest of the 9 or how many, can you just start filling up from the really nice wine, the ones that we found?
Yeah, of course. Anything
cool.
for you. Like,
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm so glad these vintages are still here.
Yeah, it's so exciting. All right.
I'll tap it
I'm
into the
joking.
green bottle.
Okay, nice. All right, so as you guys are doing that, what's next on your hit list?
Next.
We
got
got
hit list.
old Brett Holt house.
Oh, the old Brett Holt house, hey? So that's Ivan Brett Holt's house. That was where the...
Oh, Ivan's house.
Yeah, so that was where the basement went down. And while you burst into the room and hacked up the floor with a
Actually-
pickaxe to look through, you guys didn't take much time to properly investigate his quarters.
Right, so this is where the actual
unicorn was
This
trapped.
is in the same building where the unicorn was trapped.
Right.
That's right. So
Let's go back there, right? This is straight after the Great
Memory
Fall.
lane. Let's do it.
Are we?
To think.
How come
it's
we're
only
doing this
48
one?
hours.
Like this is the basement of this house is hell, right?
That's okay.
This is the
It'll be
house,
okay.
right?
was
It'll be
hell,
okay.
was hell.
It's gonna be okay. We'll be fine.
Once upon a time.
I have a racial ability that lets me share that you're 5 foot square, so I'll be doing it.
So you're beneath my skirts,
Yes,
and we're moving forward.
Your
My
chainmail
cloak,
skirts.
rather. It's
Okay,
big cloak.
cool.
Peeking out.
All right. So as you go into the door, you open it, and much of the decay that was in Ivan's actual private quarters, where the bed was decaying, the desk was decaying, had some decaying documents on it. You sort of like start looking around in there, and you see that the spores are just sort of like floating as you walk through the room. You realize there's a black layer of dust on the ground in the whole building at this
Hey,
point.
what more baby steps? My face is closer to this. You're kicking up spores.
It's gonna be okay.
Wave the unicorn horn. See what it can do. I don't know. Like,
Is there
I'll
anything
just wait
else?
out here. I'll just wait at the door.
Really?
Well,
You're gonna let me go in alone?
No, I'll be in your square.
Okay, you can be in my square.
Like riding on her back or something. Halfway
Taking
up her
comfort from the
thigh.
thighs. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
besides kicking up some dust, is there anything to see?
So as you go down the corridor, you sort of look into the room. So there's the hunting room. The two main rooms. There's the room with all of the stuffed heads, and there were some books in there. And then the other room, which was Ivan's private quarters, there was a desk, there was a bed, and there were a few trunks.
Okay.
Where would you like to look first?
I'm gonna go for the desk and bedroom.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think
make
so.
sense to
I
you?
think so.
Alright, so there's a big locked trunk. There are some papers. Give me some investigation rolls, guys.
Ooh, 19.
Yeah, and a 30.
Okay, cool. So you're looking around and you are sifting through some documents, and you see that some documents aren't completely decayed. Many of them are, but not all of them are. You partially recover some of them, and they seem to detail shipments between Mirabar and Ellsdale. All of the documents either bear the seal of Andal Wentworth or the Tethered Owl Trading Company, which is something that the merchants mentioned to
Yeah.
you in the smoking room
Yep.
as being their trading company.
The
So
tethered owl,
what was it? The tethered owl.
Yep.
It's like the birds. Hawks and finches and owls.
What was his name? Wentworth. What was Wentworth's name?
Sir Andal Wentworth. Sir Andal Wentworth is the lord of these lands, the retired soldier who was granted custodianship of these lands on behalf of the Lord's Alliance.
Cool.
And these are shipments, shipments to Mirabar.
To Mirabar, sorry.
Shall we open
Mirabar.
Mirabar.
So apologies to everyone. Last game I called it Mirabar for the whole campaign. It's Mirabar.
Yep.
It's Mirabar.
them? Whoops.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
It's alright. We're fine. We're fine. You'll forgive us.
So
still
can
good.
we open the shipments? I want to open the shipments.
These are letters indicating
Oh,
the
they're
shipments.
letters. Sorry.
They're all broken down to bits
Is there
and
a
pieces.
receiving end on Mirabar? And it's coming from here to Mirabar?
Yes, there's an address in Mirabar.
Ooh, what's the address?
The address is a 115 Pritchard Way.
Pritchard Way. Mirabar.
115 Pritchard.
There are there are alchemical supplies being shipped from Mirabar to Ellsdale, and then there are goods being shipped from Ellsdale to Mirabar to this address, as well as the inventory. You don't get specifics because a lot of the documents are broken down, but it seems to contain wine, precious metals, and fresh produce being shipped from Ellsdale to Mirabar to a storehouse which is the 115 Pritchard Way storehouse, held by the Tethered Owl Trading Company.
Interesting. Anything else in this?
Well, there is a locked box. Oh, amongst the... Yeah, so there's a locked box,
Grab a pickaxe.
and you use your cunning skills. Tink, 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 crack.
Smash.
And you sort of actually smash off the side of the box. And just sort of like
Perfect.
it spills open, and you see bits and pieces. There are like rotting robes and bits of jewelry that's somewhat decayed. Like you could probably fish around 6 or 7 gold pieces worth of broken jewelry out of the box. But among these things, you find a few things that seem untouched. The first is a sword in a sheath. It's a long sword, and it's engraved by what you now recognize from your previous experience in this town as emblems of the Order of the Ruby Circlet. Furthermore, you find a signet ring.
Ruby Circlet.
That was the Order of Knights to which Lord Andal Wentworth belonged. Furthermore, you find a signet ring in that box, and it bears symbols of the Ruby Circlet on it, but also other things. If you want to make either you want to make a history roll, or even perception, if you like.
We do threes.
They both rolled 20.
I got a 5.
It's really familiar. There's some symbols on this that are really familiar, but you can't quite figure out where.
I'm a country bumpkin. I'm like, ooh, pretty.
But then you go into the hunting room, right? You don't find anything else in that chamber.
I'm holding on to the longsword and signet.
Huh? You can have the ring, I'll have the... No, I can't use the longsword, can I?
It's okay, I'll hold both of them.
No, you're holding a lot of stuff, I'll have
How
the
do
mask
you know
pen.
they're not cursed?
I don't mind. I'm the wizard.
You're
I'm the
standing
wizard.
in my
I know.
square!
Yeah, I will take the platinum mask.
You can take, and you can have the signet ring. But you're not standing in my square anymore.
I'll take...
Shoot. Take this.
I step out of her square with the signet ring. Write it down.
Alright, you put your bare feet in the poof, poof, poof. Black spores settle on your toes, your delicate pink toes.
I just want to point out you've got the unicorn horn, the platinum mask, and the sword.
I'm just the first to find the thing.
Just
No! No.
Just saying.
Now you have the signet ring.
Yes.
Do you forgive me? Excellent. Let's move on.
I accept your down payment.
Okay. So you head into the next room and you look around, and apart from the books that I previously mentioned, which is just a bestiary of local critters in the area, and there's a book of heraldry of local lords as
They're
well.
all just so dirty though, right?
Hmm?
They're all just so dirty.
No, this room is pristine. It's fine.
Right.
It was only the private quarters of Ivan that were
Well, I got a
decaying
signet
and covered in
ring
fungus.
that I'm searching through that book of heraldry, flipping through,
Okay,
going,
cool.
where have I seen this? And
So you
I'm
flick
starting
through,
at
flick through.
Wentworth too.
Yeah, well, you go to the Wentworths, and you realize that it is the Wentworth family seal. And in fact, specifically, this is Lord Andal Wentworth's signet ring. His specific one.
And that's probably his sword, so you're in possession of stolen goods. You're going to have to give that back to his family. BT dubs, but we've got Andal
Well-
Wentworth's ring and sword. That mofo is
You
dead.
know we're on the same side, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying, we've discovered a murder. Somebody killed him.
His family, who
That's the
were on the
assumption.
battlefield under the glorious Golden Griffin standard
Yeah,
that you saw being trampled into the ground.
yeah, they're all dead.
Wrapped in
Actually,
we
plastic.
this
don't know
means
that.
you are the long lost heir of the Wentworths. Ring's worth something. No, it can't be me. You want the ring now, though, don't you? Let's talk about mask, and you keep the sword, though, and you need it for the ensemble.
I didn't know you were so good at haggling. Anyway,
It's what my people do. Unicorn horn is kind of a little bit fey and things, so just let me run with that.
you're right, I should give it to the druid. So,
There's a wizard here. There is a wizard in the party.
yes, who says the hurting words? Good point. Shall we?
Alright, cool. So as you investigation roll, guys.
Lord Bernard Wentworth.
18.
A ring to it.
Okay, so you find
I've never wanted to be a lord. Maybe a lady.
2 more chests.
Indeed.
You open them up, they're full of gold and jewels. They probably tally up to about 3,000 gold, or 3,000 gold worth of gold and jewels. Yeah.
Wow.
But of course they.
Would you like this 3,000 gold as a down payment?
But
On
you
your
also
inheritance.
come across a book,
And we get to be detectives.
and it's
Yeah.
you particularly, Spear, because of your high roll investigation and just ability to find the important things in a room.
Yes, it's because I'm taller.
You sort of like, yeah, you're looking down and you realize that there's a book that's turned sideways and on its side between 2 other books. You see like a line of 4 books that are slightly more protruded. You just like pull them forwards and you realize there's a book like tucked in behind all of those books. And you pull it out and it's got some writing on it that you don't recognize. And as you flick through it, it's actually a heavily annotated book. So it was originally written by someone. It was hand transcribed in a language that you don't recognize. And then,
This is a ritual.
furthermore, there are all of these notes added to the book, and they're in another language again. And they're like handwritten annotements, like underline annotements, and extra pages and pages that have been like stuck in and with other annotements, and they're in a different language that is not common and is not the language that it's written in. But it looks like a very well-made book.
Okay. I get on my knees. Bernard! Do you know what this is? I can't read any of these languages.
I
I can
can
barely read English.
I can
Common.
ask to comprehend languages with a spell. Oh, we've got spell slots back.
Yeah, you
Yes,
slept.
yes, that's bad.
Woo!
What do you think of this? Do you recognize it?
Here we go. I will touch the book.
Okay, first, what
Casting.
languages do you speak?
I speak Common, Halfling, and Orc.
Okay, cool. It's none of those. But you cast the spell.
Comprehend languages for the duration, which is an hour. I understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that I hear. I also understand any written language that I see, but I must be touching the surface on which the words are written.
Okay.
Ba-ba.
Cool.
I hand the
you
book
Actually, this is just a recipe for brownies.
But you don't
Wait,
know.
wait.
Oh, wait a
so
minute,
while
the
you
right kind of
understand it,
brownies.
you don't know what the languages are. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
You just can
So
comprehend it.
you look through it. The book is gibberish. Give me a perception roll.
16,
Perception, yes, 14.
14.
It's sort of like you think it's written in gibberish, and then the more you go through it, the more you see repeating factions, and it's written in a code.
It's a code!
And
we get to
then
be code breakers!
but all of the annotated sections, they're written in a language. It's a different language, but it's not written in a code. And it refers. It's talking about them. And it says notes. And there's one section. The Hellhound is a particularly useful creature because when summoned, it has limited intelligence and will obey the master that summoned it without question. Follow these rituals here, and it starts pointing to various parts of the book.
It's a spell
It's
book.
some kind of necromancer,
And then I
warlocky thing.
Flicker the fingers on the page. You're obscuring some of the important text.
And then
Flick,
some
flick,
notes,
flick,
and it's like in order to.
Well, you rolled a 20, sir.
back it.
So it
Can
seems.
we take notes since I assume this spell doesn't last forever?
Yeah, of course.
But I can cast it as a ritual every 10
Okay,
minutes,
cool.
lasts for an hour. So
Well,
with time, I
it
can-
lasts for an hour. So an
It
initial
lasts
read,
for an hour. Yes.
you read, you get the impression that this codex, the book itself, is some kind of guide to summoning devils, specifically devils.
Mhm.
And the notes talk are about deciphering this text and adding addendums to it and talking about it in such a way that if you weren't trying to summon, if you weren't into the order or some kind of hierarchy, it sort of mentions in a few spots in the notes, talks about the abstract hierarchy of the 9 hells and how weird and stupid it is, and refers in a few other places with how you could use this to your advantage. So it's like a guide to summoning demons or devils, particularly
like
for
incel
people who aren't particularly allied with those devils.
So it's basically a handbook for reaching into demonic creatures and then somehow gaming their personal
It's
relationships to
presupposing
get
that there's
something
some
out.
kind of natural hierarchy that you can gamify if you're smart.
Yeah, that's totally what it is. That's why clearly you
As
dipped
I
in.
said, incel speak. Basically 4chan.
You can make a... Hold on, you learned your magic from the orcs, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, no history check for you.
History check for you.
I never learned any magic. I think we need to get Salia to see this. I think she might have. And also
I think we
Dirk.
just got to...
Rawson.
Rawson?
We're going to just have to... This is in cipher, but this notes could possibly be used to crack the cipher. I think it's just a matter of
If
time.
somebody could understand one of these languages, then you could probably decipher
Okay.
the
Given
other.
the
Well, we need
topic
to
is
bring it
probably
back to the others.
infernal, but
Is
I
there
don't know.
anything else in this room that we've missed? Or that we've
No,
not
apart from
missed?
some basic books, like the books themselves are probably worth about the other generic books about the lands, like the heraldry book and the bestiary of creatures in the area, are probably worth about like 20, 30 gold if you sold them in the market. They're all illuminated, hand transcribed books. They're not cheap, but they're not books like this is. And this, again, it wouldn't be considered a magical text, or you don't think it would be. It's more just like,
It's just a rare and important.
yeah, well, it's as if not more powerful than a magical book.
Shall we take these books with us?
Yeah, I'm
Did
taking
you
it.
want to hold them?
Yeah, I'll carry this book. The other ones, this is stuff for the big person to carry in their shield or something.
Now I can carry things. A bestiary. What was the other thing?
There's a bestiary and a book on heraldry. Those are the two main books.
Heraldry? And did we get money? Is that another thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
3,000 gold
In a
And it's
chest
given-
or something?
yeah,
in
yeah.
2 chests.
Okay, well, I think we should just leave them here rather than hauling them out. We still have some investigating to do.
Yeah,
What do you
I actually think that we should take... Look, we've got a lot of money here, right? Well, some of it's coin, some of it's sweet, sweet gems. We've got to condense. Leave
Well,
the
we can tip
coins,
them.
tip that out, get the gems into this one big
You
iron
can
box
bury
that I
them
got.
with the other one.
Where's
The
other
iron-bound
one?
box.
We could have just
The
created
healing
a
potions.
fort like we're a dragon. And could just... Okay. Well,
Bloody
but we have
Vikings.
more investigating to do. We can always come back and retrieve these items and put them with the rest of our stash.
Yeah.
we
So
can
let's
move on.
flip
It's not
over
like
to you
other people are
guys.
coming in.
Where are you heading next?
Well, first of all, did we get? So we got it into a bottle.
Yes.
Did it have any?
Does it look like
you've got
wine?
the fine wines decanted into
Yes,
bottles.
and
They
we've
all
got-
smell great and are really nice.
And we've got
And-
one of the X ones in a
Yeah,
green
everything's
bottle.
super
Got
rich.
one of the X ones in a green bottle, so
Books
it
and
comes
wine,
out. There's a
gold and
acrid
gems.
smell. It actually
We're
smells,
condensed as well.
unicorn.
Quite a
We're
lot
in a-
like the
we're
healing
in a
potion.
frontier town.
So we will be the lord of
but
this
it's a much darker brown.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right. I know.
Yeah.
This
I'm-
is.
I'm
we
thinking,
don't want to touch this.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we certainly don't want to consume it. Let's put it that way.
Yes. I'm pretty sure this is the potion that turned everyone into fungus.
I
people.
suspect so.
So let's leave this here.
Well, I'm going to take the bottle that we've got, make sure it's completely encased, so that it's not going to get on.
Do you want me
anyone's
to purify the rest of the barrels so it won't bother
It's-
anyone else?
It's probably a waste at this time. I mean, we can
No,
purify
well, I
it.
can always
It
come
would take
back.
you a long time.
Yeah. We know what they are. They're still marked.
Is
and-
Purify a ritual spell?
It is. Alright, well that's fine. Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
if you could do me one last favor.
I am.
Could you please, and then I just get like a piece of paper and I scroll out 2 notes. One is,
She looks at it quizzically.
She can't read.
one says, Dear, can Brandy Boy read? I'm going to assume he can. Dear Brandy Boy, if you're out of brandy, please come here and take one of these, and I draw a crude map of the cellar and where the barrel is, and stock up. And then, and I go, can you please give this to our mercenary friend? He carries a barrel. The other one is I write a crude note to Mr. Smith.
That's brandy.
write a crude note to Mr. Smith and ask him, actually with specifications to make a new shield, in the colors that I want.
Okay.
And that payment, I'll give him payment.
And she's like, oh, okay, I'll give these notes to the people you say. How do I know which one to give to who?
Okay. I on the Brandy Boy one, I just write a big ass B, and on the Smith one, I just write a big hammer. I draw a big hammer.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Okay.
sure.
And actually, on the B one, I cross out the B and write like a wine bottle.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Awesome. All right, next place.
She runs off.
Cunning plan.
Thank
Okay,
you.
So what of them is the closest? So we've got the watermill, we've got Otto's silo and farm, Smith's house, brewer's cottage.
I really, whichever. Let's go down the list.
Should we go to should we go to the brewer's cottage?
The brewer's cottage? It seems pretty normal. You find like 3 small barrels of what appears to be moonshine,
Meh.
and 2 larger barrels of beer.
Meh.
It's a small shack, and
Yep.
people turn up and they sit on a few tables and they drink, and
So it's kind of like an ale house, effectively.
it's kind of like an ale house. Yeah,
But he lives there, yeah.
it is, yeah.
Smith's house.
You've been to the
We've
Smith's
been
house.
there
We've been
plenty.
there.
Yeah. So
Famous
should we go the
Ruins
Church?
Yeah. So you go to the ruined church. You go across the bridge and check it out, and you start strolling around. I'll get you both big history checks.
3.
11.
Look, the foundations look dwarven, much like all the other buildings in this village.
Interesting.
It appears that more recent structures have been built on top of it, and other structures and holy symbols have been put in their place, but what they were, you can't tell because it seems like the place has been destroyed recently.
So
And that's saying something considering the destroyed
Destroyed
structure.
recently.
Yeah, recently, like in the last. You're not sure. Maybe in the last. It's at least 6 to 12 months old, possibly older. But the structure was ruined. They built wooden and tried to redo the stone on top of it, and then that wooden and rebuilt stone structure was destroyed and crumpled in. It was at some point in the last 2 years in use, however.
Right.
But since then, apart from that, you can't seem to find anything else.
We could
Quick
probably-
investigation roll, guy. Oh, you made your history roll.
would a
Investigation?
religion roll do anything?
Unfortunately, no. But if you want to, you've already made your
Yeah, history.
history roll.
I
You
would-
can make an investigation roll to see if you can find anything else, though.
I would suggest we probably talk to the villagers about that. Yeah, no. 2.
Okay,
8.
It was.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. So that's good for you guys. We'll come back to this
Gesundheit.
side. What's next on your list?
What is next?
Stahlhaus.
Okay, so that's the house that's built onto the side of the winery.
Okay.
You look through it and it looks like there was. You go from the winery to the house. This house is actually back up the hill in the main town square. It's one of those stately houses. But as you investigate it, you do quickly realize that it's just got a lot of the similar trappings and similar associations to the stuff that was set up in the winery. You find there's a cellar in the building. It has clay jugs and some glass bottles, probably about 300, lots of different vintages. None of them have been emptied, none of them are recent. Like the newest one would have been put down there at least 5 years ago based on some of the labels that you can read, and they are all labeled. And the oldest one is probably 50 years old. So they've been here for a long time. They know what they're doing. There are 3 bedrooms.
Do you want to have a sip? Just one little sip.
You want to crack one of the bottles?
Just. I'm asking my pal.
Have a sniff.
We're ready. I mean, you do the thing. Just smell it. We'll find a clean glass. I'll find a clean glass. I search, investigate for a
Yeah.
clean glass.
There are some really nice ones. In fact, there are some. You see, there's a cupboard, and it's got quite a nice glass frontage on it, on an old oak cupboard. And inside, you see there are what looks like crystal glasses, even.
I will.
Good.
I will use use my unicorn horn to purify all the wine.
I take the 50-year-old bottle of wine and
The oldest.
the oldest possible bottle of wine, and then the one not quite as old. Because I'm expecting that oldest one actually. Shit. And I pop it open, and we just pour out 2 small glasses. And
The oldest one is actually really amazing. Really beautiful, rich, full-bodied, vintage. It's absolutely lovely.
actually, that's pretty good. I put the second oldest one back, and I just put the cork back in the oldest one. I go, all right, we're good to go.
Give me investigation rolls, guys.
15.
So you're looking around. You find there's a bunch of jewelry, probably about 200 gold worth of really nice jewelry, very, very similar in style and design to the stuff that the inner circle had been wearing, and a bunch of really nice custom fitted clothes. So it was 2 daughters and a mother who lived in this building, and there's lots of dresses and outfits of like very fine quality, very nicely designed, all made out of amazing fabrics. So if you want a set of fine clothes, there is a. So we're going to make a synchronization roll where I get the player to roll a 6-sided dice while I roll a 6-sided dice, and the closer our numbers are together, the more likely that things will go in their favor. So a sync roll,
I'm
please.
assuming they're all human-sized women clothing.
They are human-sized women clothing.
6.
Excellent. Well, you managed to make not a perfect fit, but a very close fit into one of the daughter's wardrobes, and you find she has 3 very fine dresses and a very nice fur coat in mink with crushed velvet detailing.
What color are the dresses?
There is one burgundy, one green, and one orange.
Interesting. I'll go for burgundy. And
They all fit you. It's just a matter of you can just write a catalogue of what is there when you keep.
Well, aren't you a
similar
purple
size
knight?
to me.
Aren't you purple knight sort of thing?
Sawyer doesn't like this is. You can tell at some
wanna
point in
share
this
that.
girl's life. The story makes sense because in some point in this girl's life, before she started wearing this fine tailored clothing, which only seems to be made very recently, she probably did some kind of manual labor, like lifting wine barrels or crushing grapes with her feet, because she has broad shoulders like you do, which is why these fit. Sawyer is not blessed with such broad shoulders, a slender, reclusive type.
So orange, burgundy, and green.
Prefers the light of the moon with which to tan herself.
Orange, burgundy, and green. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll take all the dresses and the fur cloak. Man, I'm
There's
probably
also
carrying
3
quite a bit
pairs
at
of
this
fine
point.
shoes, so you can have up to 3 suits of fine clothing if you want them.
Cool.
And jewelry to match. That jewelry is all like lovely designer jewelry.
This is crazy. Can't even swing your sword. Look, take the shoe.
So
jewelry,
you two have
the dress,
never
it's an
seen designs. You
ensemble.
even kind of feel weird looking at it because it's like it's newer fashion than you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that Spear would be very fascinated by these things,
Of course.
even if she later
Like with the
discovered
braids,
that
you're
they...
like, I put the elven braids in. Nice designer
yeah,
dress.
even if she discovers later that she doesn't suit them or like them and they don't suit her style, she's still in an early experimental phase. She hasn't seen this stuff before.
Yeah, it's
She
cool.
wants to find out.
Take one set, orange dress, those shoes, and the belt matches, and the bag,
I think I'm going to take the burgundy dress.
and of course the
then.
jacket. Take that jacket.
Burgundy dress, 1 pair of fine shoes to go with it, preferably in a grey or something.
Okay,
And
well,
the
you
mink
can
coat
make an
if you want.
insight check, Bernard. You
About
can
which-
both
which
make
will suit me
insight
best.
checks.
I've got 17.
Got 18.
Wow.
You guys like
Ah.
to go, you actually spend
I
some
don't
time in the
even-
house and you decide what probably the best
So I
combination
try on,
so-
we do a
yeah.
fashion show.
Yeah.
I
Fashion
try on
We'll go back to you guys. We're just doing our fashion montage. It should be like
the whole time you're drinking like fancy
from the
wine.
blind.
Yes.
This one? Try it with the shield, try
You
it without the
restoke
shield.
the fire, hit the pantry.
Does this one make my butt look big?
You notice that with all of these stately houses that you've been visiting so far, the pantries are not very well stocked at all. It looks like people haven't even walked in the pantries here for a long time. They've all been eating in the main hall from what you established. So, back to you guys.
Alrighty. We will head to the watermill.
Okay, so looking at the watermill, it's one of those old sort of... essentially it's 3 levels. There's like a semi-basement level as the sort of roll of the hill heads down towards the stream. It's just like a little
That's where the wheelworks is, yeah.
yeah, where the wheelworks are and that sort of turns. And then sort of there's the mill room where they sort of stock. They have like a bakery built right in there. Along the side there's like ovens, and then on the other side there's storage racks for all of the bread. And they have a hand mill. They have actually got 2 hand mills as well as the water
That's the
mill.
big Querdstone, yeah.
Yeah, we can tell. And then there's some ladders that go up to what would normally be divided into 3 levels above that point, but it's just a big vaulted chamber where the wheel can work. And then above that, there's a loft where all of the bales of grain are kept. And then they just are poured down and sluiced into the wheel grinding area. The only thing that you notice, make some investigation rolls, both of you guys.
Hold on, okay. Do we want to give... Okay, it's fine.
You want to give?
Well, I was... 18!
Over to you!
So
I'll just sit here drinking my beverage.
excellent. So you go upstairs into the loft and you sort of realize there's, as well as being bales of grain that are being poured into the sluice, there's also bales of these tubers that seem to be getting poured into the sluice as well.
Interesting.
Yep. So
Someone has a very cunning plan.
So you're looking around and you're actually down. You see something kind of just shining down in the wheelworks. And you sort of go, oh, it's strange.
Yeah.
You sort of go down and you sort of just check it out, and you realize it's just actually at the bottom to where the stream sort of comes in, a little bit of water in there, and it's in this pool as you sort of like crawl down underneath the giant cogs and all the wooden pegs sort of sticking out and coming around. And you see there's just something shining in this pool at the very bottom. You sort of go in and you're going to reach out for it. And you grab it, and you pick it up, and you feel a little silver ring sitting there. And pick it up, and it's got an engraving on the inside of it. And it says, "You will always be my Mrs. Miller."
That's not exciting. Okay, hold on. You'll always be my Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
And
And it rearranges to I am.
I am
So we finally have the cipher. It's been cracked.
and my Mrs. Miller. And the Millers were the Millers a family?
Yep.
And
They were one of the infected families.
one of the infected families. But they weren't one of the inner circle families.
No, but they were one of the families that serviced the inner circle families. So you realize, as last night, when you, particularly in the morning when you woke up and you saw all the families that were there were all the worship followers of Maliki, or the ones that had survived. You haven't talked to them extensively about their collective experiences. You get the feeling they've all been kind of pushed to the peripheries of this circle and felt isolated and alienated because their worship was being turned into a faux pas, and slowly a witch hunt was being made of it. So you think they were being divided and ultimately in the plan to conquer them.
Divide and conquer.
But definitely this family, the Miller family, was one of the ones that was infected, had passed through a period of sickness and then recovered.
Was there a Mrs. Miller that was married to a Mr. Miller?
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't heard anything really about the family.
Not this family, no.
Okay. We should
We probably
ask.
just chopped them to pieces last night, right?
Quite likely.
Yeah.
And if they weren't already chopped to pieces in the grand hall earlier.
I'd like to think we
It's
got
just
some of
like,
them
it tends to be like, if you have a ring that's that sentimental, why?
Yeah,
Or
why would it
someone
be
might have
down
been
here?
grist for the mill, quite literally.
It doesn't seem magical at all, does it?
I don't know. How are you gonna know?
I'm not gonna know.
Give it a rub 3 times, see if
Survive.
the genie comes out.
It survived in the
I'll put
bottom
it-
of a stream and still provided that glint to catch your eye. It's pretty magical.
I'll put it on.
Oh,
the one.
give me a sync roll. Let's see if it fits.
2?
It's big, some large woman's fingers.
All right. Well, if
Not
it
your
was,
slender elf fingers.
I'll play with it for like how long's the tunic? Like half an hour?
No, like 24 hours.
Oh, is it?
No, it depends. Like
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
start to change within like 3 hours or something.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep playing with it in my hand.
See if it changes.
Yeah, I doubt it will, but
Look, it's still probably worth a silver.
Give it a go.
Jeez.
Mercenary.
What do you want here? You're getting
Mercenary.
Okay, so
Oh,
is there anywhere else where are you going next?
I'm at the
These
top.
guys,
You
they're
can't
going
hear.
swimming for
going
shitty
for
rings.
silvers.
We're going to signet rings of the Lord
Signet
and
of the
boxes
Lord.
of cash. Hey, we're coming out in like mint
We
coats
just-
and
we
shit.
just-
How you guys going? Oh,
we get to
drinking
choose
the
one
wine.
of the sets of fine clothing.
You're coming out in heels. You know,
would it fit like on my middle finger? Do you think?
probably a toe. Maybe a big toe.
Does this fit?
Oh, what's text on your list, guys?
Auto, silo, and farm.
Yes.
Really got the ass end of that list, didn't you?
We found the great. Oh, you guys found good wine too.
Yeah, okay. Look,
Not as good as yours.
We found barrel loads.
You got a barrel.
the silo is just a grain silo. It is, in fact, full of grain. There's nothing else that you find of significance there. Most of the farmhouses are exactly that. They seem to be functioning, perfect farmhouses. Nothing
They
particular.
found a silo.
And
The-
so that would cover Peterson's farm.
Yep, so that'll cover the farm.
And so
And
the
I'll
only
let
other
you,
thing-
as you're investigating all the farmhouses, I'll let you make one more investigation roll each.
Do you get bonuses to investigation?
No.
19
Okay.
this time.
But do you get negatives?
No.
So I'm gonna support you. Why don't you roll advantage?
That's a good idea.
Okay, cool. Yep, let's do a thing. Okie dokie. Ready? And 19.
Hey!
Hey!
Roll
Now
one
we're
more in
looking
case you get a natural
20.
20. No.
No, 13.
Do you get any bonuses to the 19?
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're farms.
They're farms.
There's nothing.
Good night.
There's lots of there's lots of farmers here.
All right, so back to you guys.
Hey, what is on our list? Treasury, treasure store,
Island.
doctor's house.
Got Numer's house.
Hello, Newman.
You want to go to the Numer's house? All right.
Numer's house.
All right, so you go into the Numer's house. Again, it's unlocked, and you look around, and immediately you're struck with this must be where all of these clothes are coming from.
Sweet.
Walk up the stairs, and you go into the main room, and as well as a dining table and a small
glad
sort
I
of
lead a simple
pantry
life.
area off to the side. There is also a large cutting table. There are shelves and shelves and shelves, and all the shelves are stocked with bolts of silk, bolts
In
of
future,
crushed
we
velvet,
get the bottom
some
list.
calico linens. So unfinished fabrics, all fine. The wall of fabric itself is probably worth about 500 gold just for the raw materials alone.
They who die with
Unseen
most fabric
servant, can
wins.
I command it to create for me a jacket, cleansing, folding clothes? not
Wait, are
making
there any
clothes.
finished
Folding
clothing?
clothes.
Like,
There
any
is
assembled
also
clothing?
there are two large cupboards.
Are there any children's clothing? Because we can do the.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the cupboards are
Modified.
fabricated items, and those fabricated items there is enough to fit pretty much anybody here. So you find some children's clothes that you can.
I want the stately jacket, dining jacket for the young lord
Yeah.
about town.
What colour
with
is it?
wide
Give me
lapels.
a
Like a
sync
boating
roll.
jacket
Give me a
as well.
sync roll. Both of you.
What am I doing? A D6?
D6 sync roll. Yeah.
2.
4.
Yeah, you guys both find things. Again, they don't quite fit perfectly, but you both find a suit of fine clothes that will fit you. There is, again, some jewelry. They don't make jewelry here. The jewelry seems to be coming from somewhere else. But there is probably about 100 gold worth of jewelry just strewn around the place in their private collections.
I demand a fashion show. I want to see them all on you. Come on.
Give me
With a pimpin' jacket.
investigation
On
rolls,
a
guys.
halfling.
Investigations. 12.
20.
Or 20. Jesus.
Cool. So you're like, where is this? I just need this jacket. I just need this smoking jacket. And then you
And the cravat, it's got to match. The cravat's got to
And
match.
then you pull open like a bottom drawer, and from the and you see in a red silk package tied up in a ribbon, there's some article of clothing. And you undo the ribbon and open it up, and you see that there are two articles of clothing. There's like little undershirt that seems to be exactly your size, and it's got like 2 little red crosses stitched on it. And then there's a little pair of underbreeches, like more stylized and fitted loincloth that also is exactly your size. And it's got like 3 little red crosses stitched around on it.
Someone's been fetishizing you.
And it's exactly your size, and it's in pristine condition. As you open the bag, it smells nice. An aroma comes off it. There's no sign of decay
I'm
or
on autopilot.
fraying.
I'm on autopilot. I say, excuse me, and then I start to disrobe. I'm expecting you to turn around, but I'm not stopping until...
Yeah, okay, cool. You put it on, it fits perfectly. You're like in some amazing underpants.
Some amazing artifacts.
Amazing underpants.
And you feel, and you're like, oh, and it's like putting on clean sheets and all your body feels
I feel like
warm.
this might be magical.
And like you're suddenly,
Aside
and your
from
hair
whoever
is clean,
finds
and all the knits like jump away from you.
Ah.
I collapse onto the ground, hugging myself. Just
Feels great. You've
so
never felt so
good.
clean in your life.
so good.
As you have discovered Madame Numa's magical undergarments.
Madam Numas.
You don't need to
I'm a
attune to
little
these.
concerned that they fit perfectly.
They fit perfectly. This snug-fitting set of undergarments has 10 charges and can be used to cast the following spells.
Oh.
Well done.
Prestidigitation, 1 charge. Mending, 1 charge. Charm Person, 2 charges. And Locate Object, 5 charges.
Oh.
So you'll be able to find your cravat whenever you need it.
Yes,
That's right,
cravat,
keys.
keys, wallet.
Mobile phone. Oh, hang on.
And this item recharges at dawn of each day.
Wow, awesome. You have some great.
So you
Magical
step out of the-
undergarments.
Can I find any like silvery, whitey outfits?
Absolutely.
Okay, I take such an outfit.
If you wanted specific things, you probably need to have them tailored by some kind of person. But, you know,
If I can find an ensemble of some kind.
you find an ensemble. Again, every person who has access to this wardrobe can get a suit of fine clothes out of it. And they're also fine clothes that are suited for the weather, which is important to know because they've all been made for the season.
Okay. Cool. Is there anything else besides the bounty of fashion?
This is so good.
Not in
Like
this
this
house.
is such a boon though. This clothes and stuff.
It is.
That I reckon we should actually go and get the others in on this.
Probably should.
At the very least, I'm going to take a jacket
So-
that I think will fit Saya and go running out of the house. Going,
So you come running out of the house. So
Sorry,
you're
I got
trudging
magical
from
underpants
farm
in
to
this
farm. Is there anything else? Is there anything else on your list?
The road to
Road
Godly
to
Grim.
Godly Grim.
And we have
Gold
quite a few
Grim.
left.
Godly Grim.
all the cash houses, yeah.
You go to the far edges of the town and you see
But
some
it's much
old
fun.
sign markers written in Dwarvish that I don't believe any of you can
I
read.
can't read.
No.
But because you've seen some other Dwarvish writing around the town, you can recognize it. It's a very distinct language.
So we know it's Dwarven, but we don't know specifically what it is. Yes.
But the path is overgrown. Like nobody's traveled down this path for decades.
Right.
Okay, and the only place left is the witch's hut, which we've been
Which you've
through.
already been to. So these guys come stumbling back into town. They look very excited at all the things that they've found, and they're running down the road. And then they run into these guys who describe yourselves, please.
Bedecked.
Decked,
Clean.
wearing nothing but a pair of
little
underpants.
rosy,
Clean and he's
little
got a
rosy.
cravat.
I got my rose on. I'm there. I'm looking dapper.
I'm decked out in silver jewelry
And
and a
happy.
white dress with a fur coat. We just got chests of. Oh no, we didn't bring the chests
We
with
didn't.
us.
No.
Alright, but we got books.
Saya,
they've
come
got
and help us
rosy
carry
cheeks.
this
Oh, you
stuff.
find some
And
makeup
here's a
as well.
jacket.
Oh,
I hurl
makeup.
at you.
Nice.
So there's a makeup.
I've experimented with makeup and I've tried to put my hair in braids again.
It's been so
We're
much fun.
skipping, we're so excited.
Wait.
So you guys can both make perception rolls.
Yep.
And
20, not natural.
just give me a dexterity roll. let's see how you go. Just roll a dexterity here. You can use help.
I will assist
Oh,
at
you
your.
shall?
Yeah, I'll assist.
Nope. 10.
Great. Yeah. Well, you look
she,
great.
She looks beautiful.
You guys are like you look
marshmallow.
beautiful. You're like, whoa. The clothes look great, but they're like very well made and put together, but like you're not quite sure what she's wearing on her face. And she never quite did get the hang of doing those elven braids.
Braids, yeah. I'm just sitting there going.
It kind of looks like dwarven braids.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Have you, apart from all
We
these,
found the coolest things.
Okay. Did you find anything pertinent to the investigation?
Investigation we're doing.
Well, yes, but there's probably more houses. We didn't actually go to the doctor's house.
We've
now
still
that I
got a little
think
bit
of it.
to do,
Anyway,
but we
what
have got
we
some
need to-
big
first,
news.
we should take you to this awesome wardrobe we found.
No,
You're gonna love it.
Actually, while we walk to the awesome wardrobe, maybe Lady Worthington.
Oh, me.
Yes.
What are you?
Wink, wink, wink. Lady Worthington.
And then
Tell
I
him.
draw the
Wentworth.
sword.
Wait, Wentworth.
The sword
Hang on,
of
flip through the book.
Wentworth.
Wentworth. It's Wentworth.
It's Wentworth. Wentworth. Remember, we practiced this.
Have you been drinking?
Well, he's been drinking. I'm just drunk
She's
on
high on
britches.
clothing. Yeah.
So, Lady Wentworth.
That's just a...
Hang on, isn't
Come
she
on.
supposed to be a paladin?
I want you two to both make history rolls.
7.
9.
Look, you're on the garments that these guys are wearing, not the undergarments, but the other garments. You're like
Can't see
going,
those ones.
there's. You're not sure who they belong to, but there's more than one coat of arms. There's like a few different.
Mishmashes of-
Yeah, mixed masses of like things, and they must not have noticed them because they were either drunk or high or having a good time or
Or
whatever.
squeeing.
But you notice that, like, on the dress, there's, like, in the embroidery, there's, like, some little coats of arms in there, and some insignias of family, and around the trims of the dress, they seem quite distinct.
So
they
we
actually
found a
belong
lot
to
of things.
individuals.
Firstly, the tailor's house is amazing, and I truly recommend you try out the wardrobe. I'm sure you'll find something that fits and looks incredible.
Something warm too.
Also, in Ivan's house, we found some incredible books, including some kind of codex written in a code of some kind that seems to have something to do with demons. But before we get to that, we should probably check out the doctor's house, because I just realized we didn't check out the doctor's house.
Possibly.
All right.
I mean, the doctor was the one.
But
who
no.
made the
What I was
potion.
going to talk about is we found evidence that Andal Wentworth
Oh yes, may have been murdered.
is
Well, I
probably
mean,
dead, and his signet ring and
You may have been dead
sword.
holding a bottle of wine in one hand, elaborate bejeweled sword with, like, a ruby crossguard in the other
his
hand.
long sword and his signet ring.
As
There's
you
a lot. There's a lot going on, is what I'm saying. And you should probably come with us, have a look for yourselves. Maybe we should all check out the doctor's house together. I don't know.
Also,
Also, we have a
FYI,
massive
we're
great amount of wealth.
we're kind of set.
Okay. I love being set. Love this. I think you should watch when your coat of arms don't match. Yeah, but why don't we ask in town to see if anyone else
Now,
knows
one
about
Pro
that?
tip, yeah, good.
One,
Yeah.
one
Some
thing
kind of faux pas.
It's not great. But
depends on who's looking at you.
yeah, I don't think anyone in the town would mind.
Trust the elves on fashion name. Let's go.
What, do you have a problem with how I dress?
No, we were saying we
No,
trust
you admire
and,
it.
and I
We
think
accept
the
that you're
jacket I got
superior
you
beings.
will match
Jeez.
us perfectly.
All right.
Covering the blackness with a splash of colour. Jesus, just get in the tailor's house, get some clothes, and while we discuss this, we need to go to the doctor's, right?
Alright.
Whilst we're wandering over there, let's just consider that we've actually found some barrels which we suspect are the potion that have been produced.
Well, then we should
Ah,
definitely go to the
excellent,
doctor's
Scott.
because he was the mastermind behind that.
Then let's double check that.
And shouldn't we unicorn horn that stuff?
I guess I should
No.
take off this attire and
No, because
focus on our
this,
quest.
if we're going to find an antidote, we need to find someone who can actually deal with this stuff. Because if the entire area is affected, as I suspect, because the predatory animals and even the animals that, like deer, so they're herbivores, they're being infected. The tubers are being infected. So my sense, personally, is that we need to find an antidote for this, or at least some methodology of countering
And
this.
why do we need 5 enormous barrels of poison to do that?
Well, the 5 enormous barrels you can purify, but it's going to take you a long time to do it.
You know, it was way more fun when we were doing fashion shows.
Alright,
I apologise for bringing the level down.
Why
shall we
don't-
say.
Dirk and I. Should we
Rossin.
find some. Rossin, sorry.
Let's go.
Rossin.
Rossin. Why don't Rossin and
I
I.
think we should all go to the doctor's house, but I do think you should check out that wardrobe when you get a chance.
No,
Maybe
they-
later
Okay.
tonight. I don't know.
Or should we just go to
They
the
need it
wardrobe
They're
while
in
you go to
dire
the
need of it.
doctor's?
They're in dire need of clothes, right?
Yeah.
No,
One set of fine clothing, then we'll go to the doctor's house.
Rossin?
I'm fine. I wear what I wear because that is all I need to wear.
Let's go get some clothes. I actually have some questions for you. But let's go. I think we
As
should
you
go.
wish.
Alright.
Are you guys going to the doctor's house?
No, we're gonna go
Well,
to
you're
the
all gonna
tailors
go
with them.
to play
We're gonna
dress
have a
up, so-
fashion show, like montage, and then we're gonna go to the doctor's house.
Look at our loot.
Well, the loot's not all
Gems.
at that one house, is it? Do you take
Yeah,
them
the
on a
loot's-
tour of what you found?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Including a fashion show at the tailor's. Except that you're standing stoically by being like,
Okay, so I'd
Yes.
like you guys to both make some history checks again, but you guys can do this. You can do this with advantage now because you
9.
have the book. Yes, the heraldry book.
yeah, I have the heraldry book, we can flip through that.
No.
So you all
With
do this
advantage?
together.
With
9.
advantage, nope.
The highest that anyone got.
We're all doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you're all looking at the book. You're all
16. It's okay, you don't
That's
roll those.
Kilted. Or tilted.
Oh, that's a little better. I rolled a 16.
With advantage?
Yes.
The best
okay.
one.
It's the
So
best.
you look through and you find
You guys are all too distracted by the clothes. I'm
The-
flipping through the book.
so there are a bunch of clothes that are unbranded, but there are some clothes that are branded and have distinctive hallmarks that talk about 3 particular families. Now, based on looking at the heraldry book, you can see that these are families either from or around Mirabar. And those specific families are the Thotswalls, Thotswall, so Thotswall family,
That's all.
the Von Eyck family,
Von Eyck.
yep,
As opposed to the Von Traps.
the Fularis family.
Flowers. I guess they're the ones
Sorry,
who are
what were
stocking
they
up
called?
that warehouse.
Thotswell, Van Eyck.
Thotswall, Von Eyck, and Fularis.
Sorry.
That's right.
And Phalaris.
And they're all families that are either lords in Mirabar or lords in the local area around Mirabar. And you can still all find a suit of fine clothes. Find a suit of fine clothes if you want that will fit you in this building. That includes, if you like, headwear, gloves, accessories like muffs, scarves, shoes, dresses, robes, pants, hose, whatever you prefer.
The line thing with the flaps down the side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big furry cuff.
Yep.
Cravat.
And also jewelry. From all of the places you can all find jewelry. It's up to you. Someone should have written down how much jewelry you found total. You're welcome to either split that up amongst you or fight to the death over it.
We would like to inventory the jewelry.
I can inventory everything if we want. So we had about 3,000
In
gold in
Gold
those
and gems,
chests. And then we had how much jewelry did we have
How
so
much jewelry
far?
did you find in total?
You probably found in total between all the houses about 1,000 gold worth of jewelry, which you can easily split amongst it. Because some of them will like be plate,
I've kept some
Kind
silver
of
pieces to go with my
necklaces, or like chains, just gold chains with details on them, or brooches.
If you don't want to wear it,
cape
we'll just stick it in the
cape brooches.
box of
Yeah, well,
gems.
what I'll do is I'll just be hoarder of treasure, and I will go, if you guys all, if the
You
three,
hold the treasure, I'll hold the books.
yeah, if you 3 want to go to the doctor, I'll
Okay,
just,
I can hand the bestiary and the heraldry book to you.
I presumed I already had them.
Oh, well, I grabbed them because you
Okay.
said that big
Yep.
people carry things.
Yeah. I assumed you were
You're the
carrying
big
them.
person.
You were carrying the chest of gems.
Yeah, well, I have now
Looks like a
deposited
manage.
it in whatever
Alright.
I will
I'll
go
pinch.
hide the treasure,
then I'll climb
including
atop
our
it like a
old
dragon.
treasure, if you three want to go to the doctor's house.
Okay,
Yeah?
We could check
we're
out
going to the
doctor's
doctors to check out the doctors.
Okay, cool.
house. Doctor.
So you're gonna bury some
I'll
treasure.
go treasure supporting. Yeah.
The official dragon of the party. And the three of you go off to Dr. Gregor Than's place. So you've been here before, Bernard. So you look around and you also remember a small locked drawer in which he had put a manuscript at some point that you didn't think to ask anything about at the time. Regardless, you get to the doctor's house. The door is unlocked. You open it up. It seems like a lot of the instruments that were here previously are gone. Like they've been, and you notice that his doctor's bag is also not there.
Well, he took the tools of his trade, it seems. But did he have a chance to empty his desk?
I don't know.
You find that the drawer is still locked. Also, you see there's
I
a
find a
rack of
pickaxe.
small pieces. Yeah, just outside by the woodpile.
Try and like, wedge it open like a crowbar. Use it like a crowbar.
So you see that
Before she does that, I'd like a chance to find a key and use the key.
Okay, you make an investigation roll.
I'm already crowbar. I wait
21.
patiently. Oh, 21.
21. There's no key apparently in this room.
Excellent.
I sit
Crowbarring.
cross-legged frowning until the pickaxe arrives.
Okay, so
Okay, so whilst they're doing that,
Yeah.
I surreptitiously unlock the drawer.
okay, cool. Make a thieves' tools roll with plus 7 or 6 or something. Plus 7, I think.
Plus 7, so 14.
Good expertise.
So you walk in with the pickaxe.
I'm like spitting on my hands and getting ready, and then all of a
The
sudden the
draw's
drawer opens. I'm like, oh,
Oh, there goes
this was
mine.
gonna be my moment.
I
I forgive you for
don't like
braids. If you teach me
destroying
how to
things.
braid like that, then we're good.
That can be arranged. I'm not that precious about it.
Excellent. We're gonna have a braiding session later.
So the drawer is open.
I hope you've got good dexterity.
There is
I slide it open and look
You're
for
gonna
the
have to teach
thing
me.
that he stashed.
it's a book, a notebook.
Oh.
It's just written in common. It seems to contain personal notes. You can read it, make an investigation roll as you sort of look through lots of alchemical formulas and notes, and
12.
things like that. You come across a particular section that sort of talks about. It sort of goes from. It shifts languages at one point, and it shifts into like a similar language to the other book that you have, and you see some symbols from that book in there, but it doesn't seem to have the same kind of consistency that the other one does. It seems to be like devolving into gibberish more towards the end. It's kind of like a scientific journal.
Is this a descent into madness kind of thing where the guy's just
Kind of,
slowly
but it's just like
becoming
at this brief point, and then it clears up again, and then he stops
And,
making
and is
entries
this like a
into the book.
journal relating to a period of time?
Yes,
And how long ago was these entries relating to?
they go back to almost 2 years ago.
And when did they start getting weird?
Probably about 18 months ago.
When you met Strachan? 'Cause they came here like a year ago,
Yeah.
and then it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, apparently they
looking
met.
for Strachan in the journal.
The doctor said he met Strachan 18 months ago in Mirabar, and then, yeah,
His notes got weird.
12 months ago they came here.
This thing started in Mirabar.
Certainly a lot of
We are just
connections
the
there.
we are just the rural
What location
outpost.
is Mirabar?
rural outpost for
Like what
Mirabar
direction,
is, if you go, it's the farthest northern city of the Sword Coast.
rather?
And if you go up, there's sort of a big delta where all of the entrance, the river, large river that runs, that feeds off from the Spine of the World Mountains, the same river that the orcs emerged from to crush the Lord's Alliance armies at the Battle of Iron Pass. And then that river feeds into the delta and breaks off into a bunch of smaller islands. And around this cluster of islands, quite a bit inland before it properly feeds out into the ocean, is set the ancient dwarven city of Mirabar, once built as a fortress city by the dwarves, but then much later it broke into ruins, was overrun, and then was rebuilt by a conglomerate of human merchants who over time came to find themselves in positions of upper class, and so trading houses gave way to noble houses. Very self-exalted, but also a very industrious city. They're particularly known for their austerity. They prefer to hoard their wealth than to show it.
Like us.
Yes! But reading through the journal, and I'm sure you guys are going to take the time to look at this, yes? This is of interest to all of you.
Yeah,
Take it.
we're all gonna have a look at this.
Yeah.
I'll actually read out loud the interesting bits.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, he documents, he has a period of time where he's looking into this healing potion, trying to make an alternative. He believes that there is an alternative, there is a safe alternative, and he's trying to crack some codes. He's working with some fungal agents. He thinks there are probably some more common things that he could bring into it. And then suddenly there's this period of time where he's like, wow, I didn't realize with the introduction of a few minor magical components and this particular fungus that my good friend Strachan has introduced me to, we can expedite the process. Strachan has studied extensively in the Circle of the Spore and has brought many great secrets to us. And together, we've been able to create these formulas. Then it goes into alchemical equations around a bunch of things. And
Blah, 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 madness, and then we get back to the...
well, then it sort of goes to the point where it's like, we really just need to experiment on someone. And then that's the point where it goes into a period of delusion.
On himself.
Classic bad guy
Something
move.
like that.
Oh, classic mad scientist move.
Yep.
And
Biohackers.
then there's what it comes out of the delirium,
I've got more respect for
and
that.
then it comes back into a period of lucidity, and along with that there's one particular phrase that jumps out at you, this stamina potion. And it seems to be a concise description of what it does, which is, once consumed, the potion has a calming effect on the nerves. It immediately slows the blood flow, which stops all bleeding, filling any wounds with a scabrous black growth. As you're reading this aloud, you all are, well, particularly Sarya and Bernard, are just recalling feeding this potion, like you were the one, you were there pouring the potion into Sarya's
Yeah,
mouth
you poured it into it.
and observing the effects
Aaron's mouth.
into Aaron's mouth.
Yeah.
I did.
So this is all sort of playing back in your head, this time when you were sitting around in the doctor's office. He was like, just administer this, keep administering the stamina potion to Aaron. Once consumed, the potion has a calming effect on the nerves. It immediately slows the blood flow, which quickly stops all bleeding, filling all wounds with a scabrous black growth. The subject eases peacefully into a deep slumber, and over the next 6 hours, their heart rate slows and then stops. At this point, the body begins to petrify from the inside out, all internals becoming augmented by fungal growths. The shell of the body, however, remains intact, an effect which makes the process indiscernible to the naked eye. Within a full 12 hours, the creature awakens, sometimes wild and out of control, but often as if nothing had happened. And in these cases, they retain their memory and motor functions, but their agenda is forever changed. They are now one of us.
One of us.
The greater good.
Good.
Apart from that, among the scroll, there is one other name, a name that you've heard before. The word is Zugtamoy.
I tapped that paragraph that I read.
Zugtamoy. Zugtamoy.
This is a demonic thing from the book. Is this Zugtamoy is the...
Well, this is just a word. It's a word that you've heard before.
Yeah.
You've heard Ivan Bredhol use that word in his ritual in the basement.
Yes.
And you've heard, and now you've seen it on paper, written.
Oh.
Apart from that, you find an old second-hand sort of set of alchemist tools. Sort of, they seem to be the ones that he used and then discarded before probably the new supplies came. You also find just extensive notes, mostly on study notes, so handwritten transcriptions from books on compounds, alchemical compounds, their properties, their makeup, basic principles of magic. If you wanted to start down your own path of learning magic or alchemy or learning how to enchant items, this would probably be a good place to start. Making potions. Apart from that, you manage to, an investigation of the house, you find 3
Well, these are all books that
Other-
are coming into my...
vials with liquid in them.
Not possession.
You're not sure what is in those 3 vials. They're all different colors.
This is from the doctor's room?
This
What
is
could possibly
in a
go
doctor's. He has a little sort of locked cupboard. It's
There is likely to
Ross
be
and very easily
stamina
circumnavigate.
prototypes as they are anything actually beneficial to us.
There's a rack that contains 20 files, small files with more of these stamina potions in them.
I'm not in the doctor's office.
You returned. You all got together to
Right.
read the book.
Zoctomoy, I'm pretty sure we heard that name when we were fighting in hell. In the hell.
Yeah, that's where it sounds familiar.
Gesundheit.
I'm pretty sure it was, I want to say it had to do with the conversation we overheard. Did we hear a conversation when we were walking into the ritual, when we were interrupting?
When we were at the portal and he was standing there, he was screaming it into the hole, right?
Yeah. I think that's where Zoctomoy was talked
Yeah.
about.
Also, look at this paragraph here in the book about the potion. We've lost Erin, one of us.
Yeah.
One of us. Making Mirabar great again.
I think Erin's gone. Like,
To do the bad thing. Like, she's an agent for them now. We
yeah,
gotta stop
yeah.
her.
Like,
Well,
yeah,
she-
but that's the thing. I don't think she's savable.
No, we gotta, like, no, she's like full
Yeah.
demon.
Demon
So I guess like, where to next, right? Is there any place we haven't investigated?
the mansion.
The mansion, which we
Which
thought
is
Erin was
4 days
riding
hence.
towards.
Well, there's a possibility because we know that one person's gone north and we know one person has gone to the mansion, or at least in that direction.
yeah.
Now, we have been busy for a day and a half, so there's a possibility that those trails may not be easy to follow anymore.
We can check out the mansion anyway.
It's
And then
probably
we've
the
got to
next best
go. Somebody was heading to. I'm concerned about this attempt. They actually expressed a desire to get this stamina potion into Neverwinter
Yeah.
And probably Mirabar
and
by the same
push
price.
it off as a solution and a thing in the war and whatever.
people
that
have-
absolutely must be stopped.
I know, but is it possible to travel to Neverwinter now that winter has fallen?
Well, you know for a fact, based on the inventory that you received from the documents, they have already been, for a period of at least 6 months, exporting wine, bread, fresh produce,
But that's to Mirabar.
and gold to Mirabar, to a storehouse in Mirabar, of course. Whether or not they're distributing it through there is another question.
We should go to Mirabar and destroy the stuff.
The city
before
that
it-
is
But they've been-
currently under siege.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they've been doing it for months. Like, it could be too late.
Well, if they're under siege, then
It's
they're
not
going to
going
be eating
anywhere.
that shit pretty quickly, right?
Possibly.
They'll be down to eating ersatz potato.
At this point, it's been like the point that you left, which was about 3 weeks since you left the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the Orc army turned to march to Mirabar. So if they made direct route to Mirabar, they would have arrived there within 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, with a whole army. They're not moving as quickly as you guys are.
No.
And that is assuming they haven't been spreading along the whole front. It just depends whether or not they actually are marching there. But, that said, when you got a message from the raconteur, from the bard, she said that that the army was marching on Mirabar. On Mirabar. Sorry. Mirabar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's probably too late.
okay. If it is too late, there's probably still things to stop. But we would have to get past a siege line.
I can do that, but I don't know about you guys. Especially someone in plate. That's going to be tough.
Neverwinter may still be
Neverwinter's actually
well
a
worth
better bet.
warning. And we don't know what's happened in the mansion. Like, I don't know if that's worth checking out.
And remember that I still have a bottle of this stuff. So we can actually go to the Lords of Neverwinter and go, this is what we know. We have the documentation evidence. We have eyewitness
You've
accounts.
spoken to the
We don't know
Lords of
who's
Neverwinter?
involved. We also don't know who's involved. They might be involved.
That's pretty optimistic. Are your connections good with the Lords of
No,
Neverwinter?
We do
but
have a lot of
how are
things
your
to-
connections?
We do have a lot of things to trade right now. A bunch of families who want to trade those things. We know their names. And a storage facility.
And
We
we
know
have the
they're
lady
stored in.
Handel Wentworth
We
with
have
us
the-
right here.
That's
We have the
true.
ability to pretend that we are working on behalf of this organization and that we're coming to deliver things to this warehouse.
Well,
and we can start discovering who is part of this
We
supply
can
chain.
easily imitate, not royalty, the
Nobility.
high class,
At least
nobility.
At least merchants
But
of some kind.
You would have some sort of legitimate claims to the noble class.
Oh, the dude's standing here in monk robes.
If it comes to it, I can do that.
His hair. Do you still have good
I'm a half-elf.
Yes, I'm very aware of that, which is why I'm confused as to how you seem to seem to be part of the Golden Elves.
Let's just say that my mother was very cunning.
Do
My-
they know you're a half-elf?
My ancestral parents, yes.
Well,
I don't think
I
we're-
guessed your parents knew.
Yes.
I don't think we need Rawson to use his secret.
It's
past.
not a
At this
particular
point, we
secret.
have a bunch of letters which we know are statements around a trade route. We know where the warehouse is. We know which families are involved in this warehouse based on the coat of arms.
Two things. Those letters are both heavily damaged, and they bear both the seals of the trading company and the seals of Lord Andal Wentworth himself.
So we know that perhaps Andal Wentworth's family is somehow involved, even if it is by subterfuge, because they've stolen both his
actually-
signet ring and his longsword.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we can write a letter saying that Lord Andal Wentworth has given us the right to
Well, there's a certain
we could
seal.
use some
any
level.
horse we see.
We could use some kind of level of subterfuge to at least infiltrate this supply chain to find out
I
who's
start looking for
involved.
pen and paper.
And that could give us enough information to take next steps.
Do we have the seal?
We have the
Signet ring.
Signet ring.
I don't know if that's the seal.
That is the seal.
That is the seal. So the ability to pretend to be, and or send ourselves in his stead, go to this warehouse,
These-
talk with these families.
These
The warehouse
shipments
that
were
is under
notarized
siege.
with that seal. We can send missives to the warehouse saying
That is under
The
siege.
You need to
But we
have
can
someone who can
passing
get
a
through.
message through a siege line is easier than passing 4 bodies through a siege line, especially in a world where there's a spell called sending, and I can send a 25-word message to any person's head across the plane. There are options
And where
to
did
pass
Aaron-
So long as you
information.
know that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where did Erin go? Because,
To most likely to the mansion.
well, she likely had some kind of purpose that was on behalf of whoever they are. So
Yeah.
perhaps we can do more
Totally.
investigating there. But
Yeah.
we do have a lot of tools right now, a lot of wealth, a lot of ability to imitate, people who are finer than myself. And also the tools to imitate being a lord that we could possibly infiltrate the supply chain, pretend to be one of them, and discover what their real plans are.
We have the ability to spoof their communications. We have the ability to send information that's a lot easier than us to get to Mirabar.
Yes, and get through. the
Notionally,
siege line.
everything on the other side of that siege line is not physically available to us.
Yes.
Right. What we do have is a lead down towards the house where we can follow Erin, and we know that the Mirabar was the start of this. It's not the end of this. Neverwinter is the end of this.
If where someone has gone. So we know that one person is headed there. Now, at the moment, they have a day and a half ahead of us.
Okay.
So we need to make a choice.
You know, if anyone can breach those siege lines, it's Erin Blackman.
Yeah.
She has the skills.
Yeah. Alright.
So we hunt Erin first?
I feel like Erin is going to be an issue. I think she was a good asset for them to claim. I feel like Erin's a day and a half away. The siege, Mirabar is...
And that's by horse.
That's by horse. And she is on horse. She went in the direction of the mansion, which was not...
She took the North Road. Which
North Road.
You can get to the mansion from the North Road. It's
Right.
not directly towards the mansion. It's not like
And Mirabar is...
one of the sets of tracks that you found that was
north as
actually
well.
directly going towards.
Mirabar is not.
Mirabar is north. North and then
I think
northwest.
we can't, regardless of anything, I don't think we can leave Erin unsolved because she could drastically disrupt our plans if we arrive and then she arrives after us or before us. So I think either way we need to find her, find out what she's doing, and eliminate that as a threat before we move forward.
Yep. Erin's a problem. She's a problem we made.
I will take that under advisement because you know the person better than I.
Well, I think we have to... Well, shall we hunt for Erin then?
We should track Erin.
She's going to... I feel like she's going to Mirabar.
But
Everything
how-
seems to be pushing. She can get in. Like, that's her skills. She's good at that stuff. That's the whole third Daggerford irregulars. Our whole jobs were getting into places we shouldn't, really. Doing things we shouldn't. Getting around things.
So we need to track her, and she might be heading to Mirabar, and I guess we'll find that out soon. But in the meantime, we also need to bring at least enough equipment with us that if we decide to infiltrate and pretend to be part of this organization, we have the tools to do it.
How many days ride is Mirabar?
Casual ride, as in if you're not plugging your horses, it would take you probably... It take 4 days to get to the north, and then along the road to go west to Mirabar. It would take like about 2 days.
So 6 days.
Yeah,
And if you
about a week, 7 days, cut it even. If you flog your horses, and you likely have to change horses to make that work, you would likely be able to make it in maybe 4 or 5 days.
Are there
also-
cities in between here and Mirabar along the road?
There is one small, there's a host of villages, and 1 or 2 towns between here and there.
And how many?
Dirk, if you want to pull up the map.
How many horses do
You've
you have
traveled
available
this
to us?
area. You've all traveled this
And
road
I've
road
mapped it.
before. And Rosin pulls out a map.
Do
Lays it
we
forward.
have access to horses here? Do we have access to a cart to load up with things we need? That's going to slow us
You
down.
find a small cart. You have 2 pack mules. You just gave away one of the stallions to.
To who?
Us.
No, not to Gus. To Lynn.
Oh, that's right.
Didn't Lynn leave? Oh yeah, Lynn.
So there were 3 stallions. One you gave to Lynn.
One was taken by...
One was taken by Aaron. So 1 remains. There is a cart. There are 2 mules. You could, but the cart will slow you down to walking pace.
Yeah.
Which means it will take you 2 weeks to reach Mirabar.
And in the farms and stuff, like, no one else would have a horse.
Not a stallion.
Not a
fast
stallion.
horse.
The only other place they might have some would be at the Lord's Manor. Whatever state the Lord's Manor might
That's
be in.
true. Let's go
We
to
could
the
go
Lord's
Lord's Manor
Manor,
and we
North
could steal
Road,
some more
get some more horses, and push off after Aaron from there.
If
And it might be worth finding out what happened there because we need to know if he's dead, and also if he is, how many people know. If we're going to imitate being under
And
his
then
command.
there may
in
be
some way.
additional information, yes, to round out your knowledge and understanding of the person if you are going to engage.
And maybe there's a
imitating
shortcut.
them. Possible too.
Maybe he's got some kind of talent.
Maybe this Stahl or the doctor or whoever had the signet ring basically has been spoofing correspondence from the Lord for a long time and sent his kids off to fight. Get them out of the way? I don't know. Let's find this
And
out.
from what you understand, die.
And yeah, well, yeah.
Which eliminates a problem for whoever's engaging in this activity.
The previous owner of the signet ring.
All right.
Manor
Let's.
House.
Manor
Man of
House.
Swords.
Let's take.
The horses, mules, and cart now.
Do you want to take the cart?
Yeah, we want to load it up with the treasure.
Or we could summon a demon. Just
Not that we want to take it, we just don't want to.
We do have a codex. We could summon a demon.
I just spent a
Not
while
really
burying
my
the
style,
treasure.
but
But
putting all options out there.
if
Well, according to this book, there are some ways to shift the odds in your favor.
Yeah, if you understand the hierarchy of
Yes.
who's
Yes.
really in charge.
Yes.
And
I
whilst I understand the hierarchical celestials, I do not understand the demonic
It's all right.
hierarchy, so...
You don't need to be the wizard. We've got a wizard here already, sir.
We
Trust me.
actually only
It'll just
have
take a couple hours. I sit down and start reading the book.
I don't know about that.
we actually only have 4 chests. If we have 4 horses, we could probably not ditch the
These,
cart.
these
once
are
we're
not
there.
light chests.
They're not
full
light?
of gold.
I also think
Yeah,
we
I
don't
know.
need everything, right? We don't need
3,000
But no, they will
3,000
fit on
GPs
horses.
basically,
They will fit on
3,000
horses if you just want to take them. It's just it will restrict how many other things you want to take.
I don't think we need all of the gold. We need enough gold to make a display that if we're going to pretend we're somehow part of this trading circle.
The gold is, we want
We
a
need-
little enough gold for small change.
We need enough
the rest
gold
we
to
take
barter
is gems.
with. We need enough gold to barter with. We probably need a barrel of the fine wine, maybe a barrel of the poisonous stamina potion.
We can't take about how big are the barrels are huge.
The barrels are big, but the coopers are there, and they could decant them into smaller barrels. They can make
We
as
And
many
need
barrels
something
as
to
you need.
convince them
It
that
would only
we're...
take them a day to make barrels for you.
So let's assume this trade route is for fine goods, treasure, as well as these stamina potions. How are we going to prove we're from this town or we're representing them as the new trade entourage?
With
of
the
some
signet
kind?
I don't think we're faking that. We're just using the rings to get through when we get obstruction and to spoof their communications.
Well, I'm
We're
saying
not-
if we have-
We're going to create problems for ourselves if we fake with people of substance being nobles we're not.
Well, we do have
Technically illegal.
we do have 2 elves among us who might be able to participate in this. I'm just saying that
It's racist.
if we're
Elves
trying
are
to
not
figure
nobles.
out who's involved and
Well,
who we
not
can
all
trust,
elves.
if we're trying to figure out who's involved and who we can trust, the more we can infiltrate, the better. Because if all we're doing is just getting into the room, what do we do next? Whereas if we can pretend we're there for a purpose.
The best lie is always one that has an element of truth.
Well, you have some nobility to you. I can just be a mere
Why are we lying?
god, almsman at your side.
Why do we have to decide now?
We don't. We should go to the
Let's
Lord's
go
Manor
to the
first.
manor.
We're heading
Lord's
to
Manor
our
first,
let's bring
we
enough
gather
Yeah.
additional
Conversations.
Let's
evidence.
bring enough equipment to give ourselves creative options, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So
Lord's Manor is 4 days ride from here.
how far would that detour?
Well, 4 days walk. Riding, you'll be able to get there in 2.
Well, let's take the ride. Take the carts, the mule,
the
and
carts
the
would
stallion.
slow us to a walking
Walking
pace.
place,
That's
pace,
correct.
basically. It's
You
slightly
need a
faster,
buggy
but
or a
not
carriage, and that's not going to fly in this snow. You're still in the middle of winter.
much. Yep.
Well, we're walking anyway. Like, how are we going to ride? There's 4 of us.
Well, if we're preferencing speed,
You're not exactly
They-
take up
yeah,
a whole horse.
Someone can double you.
well, if we're
And
preferencing
Where's the other horse coming from?
Well,
Gus.
We've
that's
got
the
2
question.
pack mules.
Gus is a horse.
Gus ran away with Noriko.
But we've got 2 pack
Gus
mules.
said he would
and
come
if,
back.
Gus said he would come back, so we can dump all of the valuables and then just go as a.
But
gorilla
when
party.
did Gus say he would come back? Like in a day or in like months?
Soon, like
Soon.
within a day or so.
Oh,
He'll be.
okay.
He'll be ready.
Gus is hunting down the loose ends. Gus and Noriko have gone off to try and rein in these small individuals who are on foot. They don't really have much of a hope by themselves, or they don't want to try and go after Erin because she was a
Yeah.
full day ahead of them at that point, a day and a half ahead. But they have gone after the people on foot in the hope of taking them down, maybe finding out some more information. Who knows?
So
How's
let's-
this?
let's say we-
leave for the house under our own power now, leaving a note for Gus to catch us up. And we can
When
move
he
No, I
Faster
think we
when you're
should
on.
wait for Gus. I think we should wait for Gus. I think we should.
Because we're in a
We
rush.
should only take as much as we can carry while riding horses without a cart, so that we can move at speed.
We can
and
always-
we should choose what we're carrying.
We could always
on
abandon
horses.
the cart.
Well, if it's going to take us 4 days to get to the manor, I think we should just decant everything that we can that we deem important into things that we can carry on horses. Move it at pace with Gus and the 2 stallions. Or 2 stallions? 1 stallion. We have 1 stallion.
One stallion and one Gus.
One
One's
stallion,
Gus.
one Gus, 2 pack horses.
2 pack horses.
There's cows.
So how are we going to even ride that way?
There's a feisty
We
goat.
have 2. We only have 2 horses.
You have 1 horse, 2
Well, we have
pack
1
mules.
horse plus Gus.
Plus
So
Gus.
two horses and 4 people. Well, 3.5.
That's in the name. Halfling.
Did you want to spend some more time deciphering this book?
Yeah, once I realise that that's the plan, there's decided that waiting for Gus is the thing, then I'm straight
Okay.
into the book.
Does anyone want to help
I
Bernard
actually
decipher the cipher in this book?
wouldn't mind having a quick look
I
at
think
that.
Can you
that
speak
would be
Infernal?
useful. In the meantime, we can have a
I can
braiding
speak
session whilst-
Celestial and Undercommon, but I doubt Underdark or it's Undercommon, I believe.
Yeah, I'm an undercommon.
Okay, I'm going to try and have a look.
I can speak
So-
Dwarvish and Common. What languages can you speak, Wilson?
Celestial, Elvish, of course, Common, and Sylvan.
Maybe you should give everyone a look at the book to just see if they know
If
any of them.
The only person who's going to be able to decipher this is you,
Oh, there we go.
or Nariko. If Nariko.
My bank is on the demons shit, and she looked pretty
I suspect
Goth.
so.
industrial, so.
Doesn't look as goth as Saya.
No, but
Saya's got all this cool scarification going on.
Yeah, but it's the ones you don't suspect.
True.
Well, that's why I asked Sari if she could speak
You're like,
Infernal, and I was
"Ah,
frankly
never mind."
surprised that she said Celestial. What can I
You know,
say?
I have to say that my worship is very much to do with the dark, and so it's much more common to have, you know,
Moontan. I got it.
It's
to have
complicated.
undercommon. Well,
It's complicated
undercommon.
and it's confusing. And she's still discovering herself.
I am fine, thank you. This has been a really big journey for me. I don't know if you noticed, but I did die at some point.
I didn't
Maybe,
It's news to me.
maybe instead of talking about like what I am or what I am not, we should. Do we want to move on? Do we want to leave now? Do we want to set out on a
I
walking
think that-
pace with
I
the
think-
carts?
I think we're decoding the book while we wait for Gus to rejoin us. Is that the plan?
Yeah, sure.
Is that the plan?
So
Or do you want to
Fine
move?
with
Or do
me.
you want to move now?
No, let's stay. I'm happy to stay. Let's stay.
And in the meantime, I might still look through the valuables and make some decisions, like see what is worth.
make some executive decisions.
Just we'll see. Kind of, there'll be obvious things worth taking, like the signet ring and the long sword.
Oh, there's also the fabrics. So there's 1,000 gold worth of fine fabrics as well.
Yeah.
Too bulky.
True.
We got
I'll
like
see-
The
4,500
adventuring party that
gold
dies
pieces
with the
worth of
most fabric
gems
wins.
that we can actually take.
Yeah, I'll be sorting through the items and piling them up with an eye for things that are easier to carry but
Okay.
can still be useful in our journey ahead.
Okay. So the only
Perhaps you can
person
help
who can
us.
really even attempt to read this book is you, and only when you've got your spell up, which is decipher languages or
Comprehend.
comprehend
Comprehend,
languages. Because nobody else can speak or read it, and you can't transfer that spell to anyone else.
Self, no. Truda.
So you've already gone through all of this, but
Recapping.
eventually at some point during the evening you come to this realization about a certain thing.
About stuff.
Is that for us
You
all
can
to
share
read?
it's no, just for Spear.
Oh, it's just for me.
Yeah, you can read. So meanwhile, give me essentially it's a cryptography roll. But it's going to be raw intelligence,
Third time's a charm.
no advantage,
Raw int. 14.
total. You, at this point, cannot break the cipher. But, reading through the rest of the...
Well, actually, I've got. This is important. I've got 2 important rolls.
Do you want to make those
possibly,
rolls?
But I'll just bank them at least.
Yeah.
6 and a 15. That's a good spread. And then the 15 could become a 17.
What did you roll at the moment?
14, I believe.
So tonight you can't break it. You spend like hours,
No, I'm not gonna
4 hours, just
support.
trying to figure it out.
I made the roll.
Yeah, you've made the roll. You haven't got anything. Well, you have something that's better. You just don't know if it's going to be better enough. But you do read through the rest of the notes that are in the other language, and there are 3 particular footnotes that they refer to. And give me another intelligence roll.
Eight.
There are clues in what you've done as to how to do some of these things. It seems like there are certain rituals that are of interest to this person. The first one is making a pact with a particular devil of medium rank.
Uh-huh.
The second is summoning a lesser devil, a fire devil. The third is summoning a hellhound and commanding it, and also details on the ritual of how to bring it and permanently affix it to the mortal realm, which was to do with the horses and impregnating the mares. The final one is how to summon, command, and control a nightmare, which is a horse that is capable of traveling through dimensional space
Ooh, that's the
and
one
also
that I saw.
flying great
I
distances.
heard that dot horse.
The way the wizards talk about that shit.
Yeah, so it's true. You did hear the hoofbeats. Some of you saw the horse, and the description that is given is in fact identical to the large black mare that you saw. Another one describes notes on a simple illusion spell for when summoning. If you cast it summoning, you can bind them and control them to use their own inherent powers to mask their forms or make themselves invisible. So that correlates very closely to the large black stallion that you saw in the stables, that some of you saw leave the stables, and then some of you who were outside at the time only saw the steaming footprints in the snow, and then heard it careening off into the distance.
There's some cool shit in here. There's some really cool shit in here.
One, you can make one more intelligence roll. Based on that, you translate it so that other people can read those notes.
yeah.
Okay, so
That's
somebody else now can make a roll. Saya,
On what? Just intelligence?
you can use Arcana if you like.
This is
She
all.
can use Arcana.
I'm not about the book learning.
I'm about the god channeling through
Yeah,
me,
me too.
feel the divinity, love the divinity.
I don't need to be smart. I have a smart god.
But you can also just make a raw intelligence roll if you want.
Make a raw intelligence roll. 10. Actually, jokes.
9.
9.
Do you want to give her your portent?
Can I help?
No, I want
Can
the
help?
portent for myself, frankly.
Okay,
My
cool.
check.
Can you help?
Yeah,
I
can
can
help?
I can do an Arcana check.
do an aid.
Does anyone want to aid? Because everyone can look at it. Yeah, someone can
I'm
aid.
helping.
You help, alright, so you can roll advantage on that.
I'm like, you can do this. I believe your god will give you inspiration. 2.
Don't you have an inspiration dice as well?
I got that 2 games ago though.
Yeah, you all still got your inspiration dice.
point too.
We've still got our
But do you want to
inspirations.
add, like, until that gets
No.
taken over, nobody's taking it away from you.
I don't want to add like a d6 to my 4.
Well, that's your
Well, no, but you
decision to
can,
make.
the first one you rolled,
You
take
could,
that,
because it
you
was
have
with advantage.
Okay.
So you could add a d6 to
So you're
the
a 9.
9.
9.
If you want.
Please.
And take the inspiration point away.
13.
Woo!
So.
Now that's what I call inspired. Alright, well, you're like, the notes here are detailing how to command something once it's already been summoned. The summoning ritual is written in this cipher that we can't understand, but these notes detail how to control something that's already been summoned. And if that nightmare still exists anywhere in this plane, you can call it to you and potentially control it.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm gonna. How complicated is the ritual?
It's a series of control words, so you would have to speak one of these languages.
Damn it.
In these notes, speak them out, which can you speak the language once you cast decipher languages and issue control words? Give me another intelligence check. No, either of you. Either you two. Also, Bernard, so you three can all roll.
18!
14.
I was going to use my portent at this point to
Okay.
lock in a result. And the inspiration as well. I'm going to hit this.
Ooh.
Hit it hard.
Okay, cool.
It's a D6 inspiration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
D6,
D6.
add D6 to the roll. So your roll is the 15, then you add your D6 to that roll. Plus whatever attribute modifiers you have. On intelligence.
17, and it's not in Arcana, it's just straight in. With no proficiency, so that'd be 19.
No, you can use Arcana if you want.
Oh, yeah. 19.
Okay, cool. You're thinking about it, and you're like, okay, this guy's talking about rituals. He's talking about summoning and binding, and he's referring to those in these notes. And the creature's in existence, and sure you can call it to you with these words, but even if you call it to you and then control it, if you're not the person who made the initial pact, then you're not sure how far that control will go. Unless either you make more offerings, or you find the physical device of binding. So there are two things that could have happened based on these notes. Either a part of the demon, the middle level demon that had more power to summon these lesser demons, or power to have control of these lesser demons, was bound into some kind of item, or bound to some kind of item that had been brought into the physical world from the infernal plane.
Can I use divine
Possibly
sense
the
without-
mask?
Possibly the mask. I mean, the mask is infernal by origin. Or there's a power word like a name or something like that that's been used to control and
reckon
bind them.
it's
In which case,
Zugamotoy.
you'd need to know what the name of the demon was.
Zugtamoy.
Well, that's assuming he bound Zugtamoy.
You probably didn't bind Zugtamoy. I think Zugtamoy is too high up.
Yeah, look, even anyone who has religion as a skill,
Yeah.
you've heard of Zugtamoy. He's one of the major demon lords.
Yeah.
But not devils. And remember, this book is all talking about summoning devils, not demons.
Not demons.
So we need to uncover either the word they used or this item they used. To
The
bind.
item in which
I
the
really
essence.
wish Noriko was here.
What could be a candidate? Not the horn, but the platinum mask is the strongest candidate,
It
right?
would be the strongest candidate.
Oh man, okay. I pull out the platinum mask for the party to inspect.
Put it on.
Should I put on the
Let
platinum mask?
let me put it on.
Yeah, you seem more risky than me. I was going to pray on it.
Yeah, I guess consulting the gods is always a pretty good
Look
idea.
at the
They don't have
paladin
any
and the
actual
cleric actually consulting the gods.
You want to consult some gods?
I would like
wanna
to
pray?
spend a
I
lot
would
of
like to
this
pray.
evening in
I'm going to
prayer.
pray to Bahamut for some guidance.
Great, make a percentile roll to see if Bahamut listens to you.
And this one, I'll say the darker one is the
Tens?
10s. Or the, yes. 36.
You are warmed by the presence of your god in your body, but no,
I feel better. Yeah.
no direct message delivered into your mind.
I would like to pray to, well, Shah, but obviously the being that is Selune and Shah
Of course.
entwined.
You reach out to the helix that is your existence.
Come on.
33.
Again, the moonlight shines down upon
Our
you,
gods aren't
blessing
listening
your
to us
existence.
right now.
Well, they're listening.
They're listening.
They just don't have any.
They're
business.
just as much at a loss as you are, or
Yeah.
probably busy with other things right now.
So obviously I also have divine sense. I don't know how useful that's gonna be to try and locate an object. Does
It does
you
help
have
you with
locate object in your clothes, your underwear. Does that
I do.
help?
To
we-
know
have to know
what
the
the
You have to know what
object
the
is.
object is.
Yeah, you actually have to know what it
So
is.
it would help. But we don't know what it is.
If one knows.
Well, we have a signet ring and a.
Did what's his name, Ivan, or the bad guys ever have something that was like clearly there? Scepter.
Why isn't there a recall ability? Like, what do I remember?
It's a feat called Key Mind.
You never saw, and I can tell you for certain that you've never seen anything specific because you never looked into it enough, to be honest.
May
while Ivan was
I-
alive.
Please borrow the mask.
Would you like to try the mask on?
I would love to
You're
try
gonna
the
have to
mask.
handle it for a while.
That's
I
fine.
pass Saya the mask.
And I'll just...
Saya,
Yes.
are you the best person to put the mask on?
If she turns
Maybe we should
into a
let the new
demon-
guy put the mask on in case we need to.
kill him.
You okay?
Well, is there some way that, like, is there some kind of, do any of us have the knowledge of how you can kind of, say Saya turns into a demon, can we put a circle around her, a binding that means that she can't escape
I
once we've done
won't
that?
turn into a demon.
just in
I
case.
am so blessed by my
I
gods
know.
that
There are
I...
definitely some notes about that in the book, but without a proper translation of the cipher, it's really hard for you to discern those things.
So the
I'm...
book
Okay.
mentions the mask.
Just tell me your
The book
true
does not
name.
mention
Look,
the mask.
you know
My
what?
true
It's
name.
just talking
You know
about
what?
binding or
I
trapping.
have fully
Circle.
rested and I'm fully
True,
equipped
complete
and I
name.
have every faith I can kill
Complete
you if I
name.
need to.
And
We can
also
do this.
remember that she's an elf, so that she also has resistance to things of that nature.
Charm and sleep and...
My true... What do you mean by true? My true name to me is Saya Lucine.
The name that was given to you
That is...
as you were brought into this world.
Well,
That's
then
not
you're
the true
talking
name.
about my childhood name.
Yeah, the one that will actually have magical power over you when you turn into a demon. And I need to do that, like, go full. Just whisper it. That's all right.
But I...
It's okay. It's okay. If need be, I can vanquish her. It's fine.
I totally remember.
I have all my spell slots. I just turn all of that into smite every
Smite the
single
hell
one.
out of
It'll be
my
like,
friend.
It'll be like 100 points of
mightily
radiant
smutty.
damage. Done.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we're fine. Okay.
Nuka from orbit.
You've got the mask. Do with it as you will. I am going to ensure that I have this new ruby longsword that I found on me, and my sword on my arm, and my shield on my arm in preparation.
I whisper to you, Celine. Yep.
know.
Celine Lucine.
Okay.
So you
Mm-hmm.
take the mask
Yes.
and you hold it in your hands and you concentrate for a little bit, and you see as the shape of the insert changes to your own face. And then you
Oh,
sort of,
look, it's even getting the wrinkles.
and you go and you move to put it on, and as you do, your eyes go shut, and they're forced to shut in the mold. Your eyes are shut, and you see the face. It sort of like just blends in, smoothly becoming her face. And like with the Prince of Wolves, it is now this mask, just mounted perfectly where her face should be, shining platinum, with and slowly turning white, with fades of grey into a marble finish, looking like a polished stone. Your vision goes black, and then slowly it fades, and you see a world, a shadow of its former self. The people before you represented in shades, almost as X-ray, their skeletons showing through from their skin. A netherworld is revealed before you, a shade of the world as it was. Within it, you see the shadowy figures of souls left behind, wandering around. You see some that are there, spirits that were trapped on this plane of existence. But you see many that are distinctly absent. You look down at yourself and you become translucent. From the outside, you realize that your mouth is shut. You try to speak, but you cannot. You feel pain. You take 3 points of damage as a certain amount of essence is drawn from you. But you also see everything around you in X-ray. Everything is translucent. You move towards. You sort of
And
look
she's
over.
still here?
You put your you see a cup. You move your hand through it. Your hand just passes through it. You start walking through the table. From the outside, you see her. Her body becomes wreathed in purple flames. Much like the dog, these translucent purple flames sort of start moving around her body. She just looks around as if she can see things. She sort of moves over. You see her hand move through a cup. She walks into a table. She passes through the table.
That escalated quickly.
You take the mask off.
I do at this point.
Takes him up, turns once more into the platinum mask.
That's you want to put it back on and step out of the table?
She passed through the table. Like screams, blood.
Well remembered.
This is quite powerful.
Let the wizard check it out.
You want to wear it?
Sure.
So what did you experience? You seemed to pass
seemed pretty
through
cool.
things.
Will you give it back?
Yeah. Totes.
I think I'm gonna hold on to it for now
Why?
because I just like it.
Oh, it's one of those, eh?
It's not one of those. It's not one of those.
Well, prove it.
It's a precious.
Prove it.
I don't. Will you give it back?
Sure.
So wait,
If it's not one of those, I will.
it doesn't. Okay, so I don't know why you trying it on will help us
trying.
anymore. So what we know is
Knowledge.
What, it
It's
makes you
information.
enter
Have the wizard with the full suite of information is my general recommendation.
Okay, I just hold it up really high.
So it's one of those.
It's not one of those.
All right, I'll put it in the box.
You're one of those. So it makes you enter some kind of plane where you move through objects.
It's called the ethereal plane.
Jeez.
He's correct. It's not. It hurts. It's not pleasant. It's not. It doesn't. It's not one of those. It's just powerful.
Okay.
If you give it back, I want it back.
So wait a minute. It doesn't bind demons though, so it's not useful for our current purposes. It's just.
Alright.
I put it on, and my intention is to look at the book.
Okay. You put it on. So you can see. The first thing is that you can see that you've heard the orcs talk about it. It is the shadow world where people who have not passed on completely stalk in existence. So you can see the remnants of souls in there. But immediately you find that your mouth is fastened and you cannot talk or communicate. Your eyesight disappears and is replaced with this vision. You find that you're ethereal. You can move through objects and you're immaterial, as it were.
And he takes damage.
And you take 4 points of damage.
Yay!
As your energy is given to an unknown source. You look at the book.
Yep.
You recognize. You can instantly read the writing that is in notes, and you recognize the symbology. And we'll make an intelligence roll.
Can I help?
DC 12, no, because you're not also wearing the mask.
Yep.
16.
And you recognize it as the language in the notes is infernal. Abyssal, sorry. And the language, you're not sure that the language of the book is infernal. But it's still written in a code. But also, it is mundane. There is nothing special, significant, or otherworldly about this book. It isn't in itself magical. It is not.
Look at the rest of us.
Yeah.
Look at all the items.
X-rays. You look and you can see a radiant, glowing sword in her hand. You look down. You're wearing these magical, radiant underpants. Take another 2 points damage.
And the radiant sword.
It glows with a diametrically opposing energy to
You
that
can
which you
recognize
possess.
magical objects.
You can identify what is magical, what it does. You can't tell.
Yeah.
Does this mean that we might be able to find the object that controls the demons through this kind of vision? If someone can
That's a
take
good.
enough points
That's a good
of
point.
damage?
I will quickly scan around this room, X-ray style, for anything else that is.
I've
potently
neatly put
magical.
all of the
That's good.
items into stacks of different things, by the way.
Meticulously
Yes.
categorized it. You take another 1 point of damage. No, it doesn't appear there's anything else that's magical in this room.
Okay, and now I take the mask off.
You slump.
And
Like,
I'm like,
physically,
"Oh!"
he's like,
And then I. Okay, that's a sometimes mask.
Yeah, sometimes, Mars. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just gonna sit in a corner and meditate.
okay.
Yeah. So you got your spell slots back, right?
I cast Cure Wounds.
So, what problem are we looking to solve right now? We're trying to figure out how to summon or control a demon that is a horde. that
Yeah,
can get
I want to
us
control the
location.
nightmare. That sounds amazing. You get 5 hit points back.
Sweet.
So this is what you're looking at, controlling. See, hand this to Bernard, please.
I'm going to try and give it a go anyway, without the idol.
Woo! Pretty. Horsey. It's a horsey, and it has fiery mane.
So you all go out into the courtyard. Do you wait till nightfall?
Yeah,
for it to
midnight.
arrive.
Fucking
Yeah.
midnight.
Yeah, the instructions. The
witching
given.
hour,
The
yeah.
witching hour. You wait till the witching hour. There's no instructions specifically detailing when, but
Curses are half price.
and you have a passage that you can read. You can read the passage much more clearly and understand it much better when you're wearing the mask than when you're casting the spell.
But I can't speak with the mask, right?
Yeah, that's true. But, you can understand it. But you've already seen it. That said, you haven't had a look at it with the mask on, so
Recall.
I'll say that you can now say the command words with advantage.
Okay. Nightmare, horsey, cometh here.
It sounds much more like
That's the accent.
What he said.
No accent. Advantage?
Except in a very small halfling voice.
Am I rolling?
yeah,
The
with
rolling is
advantage. It's a charisma roll.
14. Charisma?
Yeah.
Just straight up charisma?
Straight up charisma.
Okay, 15.
Cool. Awesome. And you sort of wait. You wait. You wait. You wait. And then you see on the horizon a line of fire illuminate the clouds. And across the clouds, one flaming hoofs, the flaming mane, and eyes like burning coals, comes riding at first a shimmering silhouette in the night, half real, half not. The whole environment around you starts to tingle with otherworldly energy as the hair on the backs of your necks stands up. And you look around, Rosalind, and you see the snow itself start to melt into the shape of a circle that surrounds you. An energy that seems to be emanating from the platinum mask. And towards you rides a flaming nightmare. And we will end the game there, guys.
Yay.
With the shadows that stalk the night now at the command of our heroes, which path will they tread? One of righteous fury and humble glory, or one of unlimited power? Find out next time in the first thrilling episode of The Siege of Mirabar. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to stay abreast of all future releases from Tabletop Dynasties.